Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 107, the brand new rev of GameFace.
Shane had a burning desire to prove that we do wear pants on the show.
People have been asking for a long time, and yeah, in fact, we do wear pants while we're doing the show. Some pretty big changes are coming to GameFace. You're going to see pretty much all of them here in this first episode 107. I'm not going to ruin all the surprises for you guys. I want to kind of unveil some of the stuff we're going to do as the show goes on.
He doesn't tell me either.
Yeah. I do want to say right off the top, I'm sorry I was away for a bit. I'm sorry we didn't do an episode last week. I was away. I was back in Philadelphia for 4 or 5 days. One of my very closest friends, in fact, one of the groomsmen in my wedding, had a heart attack and died at 43. He's one of the best friends in our circle of friends from Philadelphia. He has a wife and 2 kids, 9 and 11. He was one of my best friends, and he just had a massive heart attack and died. So I had to go back for the funeral. It wasn't really a choice. It's something that I had to do. I'm actually just as good friends with his wife as I am with him. I knew her before I knew him. And so I had to go back. And I paid the price a bit. We paid the price a bit. We lost some patrons, and we lost some money on Patreon, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, man. Sometimes you got to do the right things in life, and the right thing for me was to go back and support my friends and my friends' family. So I want to apologize. Things are back into full gear on SIFTD. Man, tons of freaking great games. Since I've got back, all I have done is play video games, Matt. It's this week.
I don't even know what you're doing watching this today, really. I mean, man, like, hope you're playing something else while you're listening, because there's way too much to do.
There is.
It's a big Friday.
It is, and this is a great show, man. We have a ton of awesome games. I'll run them down for you really quickly. We're going to talk about Wolfenstein II. We're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins. We're going to talk about South Park: The Fractured Butthole. We're going to talk about Super Mario Odyssey. This is, hands down, going to be one of the best episodes of GameFace all year. And they're probably just going to keep getting better as the year goes on. So here we go, man. We are in the prime release time for games, and it's just going to be an awesome year from here on out, and we're going to be here to celebrate it with you. So welcome to the new GameFace. Hope you guys like it. I think, Matt, we've done a better job with the space that we have.
Yeah, I think it's using it more smarter.
Yeah.
That's the kind of insight you pay for here on SIFTD.net.
Yeah.
More smarter spacer usage.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to use the space better, and you'll see eventually why we've changed some things, because we're going to do some stuff differently from how we've done it in the past. But I also just wanted to make the show a little more casual. It was kind of sterile with us just kind of sitting there with the desk and everything, and I wanted the show to have a little bit more personality. So,
well, boy, did you get the guys for that.
Yeah. So I hope you guys like the changes. I hope you guys like the new show. I've put a ton of work into it, and it's been a scramble because I was supposed to have those 4 or 5 days where I was back in Philadelphia to get ready for this, and I didn't. So it has been insane. I've been here all day setting this up. So hope you guys like it. Here we go with our first topic, and that is Wolfenstein II. Matt, how much time have you had with this?
Like 3 hours, like not a ton. I've gotten through the opening stuff, and I'm like halfway through the first mission on American soil.
Okay.
In New York.
I have to say, this is one of the most brutal games I have ever played.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the first game was dark and violent, but this one's like doubling down on it, and it's vicious, really.
It is vicious. I streamed a little bit of it the other day, the first like 90 minutes of the game or whatever, and I don't know if some people may have watched the Hangout or maybe some of you didn't, but there is a cutscene in the first like 40 minutes of it that is just so freaking burly, man. Like,
I assume the flashback you're talking about?
Well, the scene with the big cyborg. I can't remember if it was a flashback or not.
No, it wouldn't. The cyborg would have been. You mean? Like on
with the axe.
Yeah, okay. See, I thought you were talking about the flashback to his dad.
No, that was brutal too.
Yeah.
But the scene with the axe, man, I literally had to like look away from the screen like 3 different times. Then there was another part where they asked you to shoot a dog.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Well, they don't ask, though. Your crazy racist father insists on it, basically.
Yeah.
You basically learn that BJ Blazkowicz is the hero he is because his father was not one.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he's the opposite of his dad.
I refused to shoot the dog, by the way, and realized that the game was not going to move forward unless I did shoot the dog.
Well, I aimed away from him as much as I could and shot, and then like you got to flip back and like you hear like your father yells at you like, you can't even do that right, kind of thing.
Yeah. Then he finishes the dog off. I did the same thing.
That's like the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's just like, oh, okay, here we go.
I actually closed my eyes when I pulled the trigger of the shotgun.
I'm certainly not a violence to animals person, but it was kind of a shitty dog model.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mind that much. It was like the dog was a different resolution than the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just my computer. I don't know.
But and then the scene with the axe. I mean, that one was like that early. I mean, the violence level of the axe movement is about what I expected, but the aftermath of it is I mean, they want you to hate this villain, and they're doing I mean, it's the same villain from the majority of the first game, back again. And she's a terrible, even for a Nazi, she's a terrible person. Like,
you're already starting at -100 here, but like she just is pushing it and pushing it and pushing it.
And that's what I said on the stream, was a lot of games fail to make you hate the enemy or the antagonist. And no problems here. I hated her right from the get-go. And now that I've played 6 or 7 hours of the game, that hasn't gone away at all. One thing I would say, though, is I think if people watch the Hangout or were on the stream for that, the game isn't as cinematic as it makes itself out to be at the beginning. Yeah,
once you get set loose in New York, it really sort of lets you run a little more.
Yeah.
And there's more sections where you can sneak through, you can go through guns blazing. Like, there's a lot more freedom and openness to it than like because early on, I mean, the first level is basically you're on the U-boat in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And
you play in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And then you end up in like the helicarrier thing that the Nazis have, and then it's a much more folded in experience, that's kind of training you how to play some of the basic elements of the game, and then once you get to America, it seems to open up a lot more. Or at least it feels more like the first game is sort of like kind of, you're still going through a linear path, but there's more choice involved.
I mean, I think there's a lot of choice in the level design in general. There's never really just kind of that Call of Duty cattle shoot design.
No.
There's always kind of branching paths on the outside. It does ultimately take you to the same place.
Yeah.
And it's not
if you don't care
it's
about
not an open world game.
No, but if you don't care about collectibles or like, like killing everyone in the room, there are ways to just get around stuff. And, if you want to go full sneaky, it supports that.
It does.
Although it doesn't make it easy because the enemies are not predictable in this game. They start in the same place, it looks like, if you like reload a save or whatever. But what they're going to do is very up in the air, which makes it more difficult, but also more like believable.
Yeah, I mean, on the stream, I had to replay one section of the game several times over. And every time. I mean, sometimes one enemy would do the same thing, and you would go, "Oh, okay, it's the same as last time."
This here you can see. This is the scientist's pet cat took his pet cat's head and grafted it onto a monkey.
Yeah,
because the cat had cancer,
right.
And like, it's an incredibly strange like thing they've created here. But like as someone who like lost a cat to cancer this year, like part of me is like, I like this guy.
I would do
like,
that.
I'm down with this dude. And a great thing is like this is also like really clumsy foreshadowing because like when you hear this because BJ is basically his body's screwed up from all the damage it took in the first game.
Right.
And when you leave this scene, you turn around and there's like a muscular headless body bubbling in a clone tank thing. Yep. I'm like, oh, I think I see where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is foreshadowing because you can tell that because he can't walk
without his
the suit,
power armor.
Without the power armor,
he's got like this super future power armor that this guy's secret society has basically the secret society invented it in the 1800s or something.
Right.
So the technology is much more advanced in this world.
I love the tech in this game though because it's kind of this crude like 1940s, 1950s.
It's
almost a borderline steampunk stuff.
Yeah, it's generally called diesel punk.
Okay. That makes sense.
In fact, there are actually enemies in the game that are referred to as diesel-powered.
Gotcha.
That you can mess with it. Like if you sneak up, instead of auto-killing them, you can pull the tubes out of their stuff and it'll leak fuel, and you can set the fuel on fire. Like they leave a trail. Basically, you can set it on fire and blow them up when they reach other enemies, and like set up ambush, like basically traps that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that.
And the game is challenging. Mm-hmm. It's I think there are
many difficulty levels.
There are like 7 difficulty
six or 7. One of them, which is not, it has to be unlocked. I think it'd be the top one, which is actually named Mein Leben,
right?
Which is my favorite thing the Nazis would scream when they die in the original Wolfenstein 3D.
Right, yeah. Mein Leben.
Mein Leben. And there is actually a version of that in this game. There's an arcade game in the cantina in the U-boat that they use as a base, and you can play Castle Wolfenstein, which is like the Nazis won the war 1960s version of Castle Wolfenstein 3D, except everything is like you. Like BJ is the Hitler in that game, and you are playing against evil US GIs, but they're still speaking German because it was made in Germany, I guess. But so that's kind of fun that's in there. And BJ even comments, I'm like, wow, the graphics are amazing. It's like you're really there. It's like, there's a lot of really clever stuff in this game.
It is. There is. And I played on the default difficulty setting that was there whenever I booted it up. It's like the second of 7.
Yeah, I'm on... It's not... I think it's Bring It On. I think that's normal.
I don't remember the name of it at all.
There's like... Don't Hurt Me, Can I Play Daddy, Bring It On, and something else, and I think I'm on Bring It On or whatever, something else.
So you're playing on way harder than I am.
I think one above where you are.
I mean, even on my difficulty setting, you die after just a couple shots.
Yeah, you also, like, early on in the game, because you're in the damaged body, your health max is at 50.
Yep.
You can overcharge it above that, like in the first game, you can go over 100.
And then it counts down.
Yeah, and it counts back down to 50. So you actually are working with less life than 100%. So yeah, early on in the game, you are actually more vulnerable.
And the armor you can get up to, depending on where your health is, you can get higher armor levels. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're 10 or under, your armor can go up to like 200 or something like that.
200 is the max armor.
Yeah, I think that's what I've discerned from my time playing it. So there's not a lot of health, so you get shot a couple times, you go down. Yeah. The checkpoints are pretty
regenerate
generous.
Back up to 10. No, it does it in like increments.
Right.
So like
it'll go up to 10 a max of 9, I guess, from where it starts.
So if you drop below 40, your new maximum is 40. Until you get another health pack.
Yeah, and if you're at 42, it'll go up to 50, so to speak. So it is kind of an interesting system. I haven't played a game in a long time where you pick up health, pick up armor pieces. In that way, it's kind of a little bit of a throwback.
Yeah, but it does auto pick up some of it if you walk over it, but the first game did not do that. You had to pick everything up.
Yeah.
Because I just replayed the first half of the first game last week or the week before to kind of prepare for this. And this one also keeps the upgrade system from the first game, which I really liked, which is instead of like gathering points or XP or something, each ability, basically you have to do an action over and over. And like whatever that action is will usually be related to what the upgrade is. So getting headshots, if you get early on, you get 10 headshots, you get a percentage bonus to the amount of damage you do when you're looking down the sights.
Yeah.
Stealth kills, you get a certain number of stealth kills, you move faster when you're crouching, that kind of thing. And so it's more like it's rewarding you and upgrading you for how you like to play.
Yeah,
and
I
really
love that
like
whole concept.
And the other nice thing about it, and this is true in the first game as well, if you die after doing something, one of the target actions, you keep that target action.
Yep.
You do not.
You're right.
Which does also mean you can just reload autosaves and scum it. But like, if you want to do that, you want to do that. It's a single-player game. Who cares? Do it how you want to do it.
And that's what I want to say. It's a great single-player game.
Right. Well, I mean, for all the screaming about, it's like, oh, single-player games are dead or dead or dead. 3 amazing single-player games came out today.
I know. It's pretty
And in
funny.
fact, Machine Games said they refused to add multiplayer to this game.
Yeah, their reasoning I thought was kind of garbage, but...
I think they're only so big.
Right, and instead of them just saying, well, we're only so big,
yeah,
they try to say, oh, well, take away from the experience or whatever. That's total baloney.
Technically they're not wrong, but not for maybe the reasons they might want you to think, I guess.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, I am really, really having a good time with this game. It is hard. I've died a ton of times. It teaches you to really learn how to play it, though. But you also have choice in how you play it. I have not really tried to stealth too much. There are some sections of the game where it kind of forces it on you, because you really can't get through it. Because what it does, the game has...
There's places where it's smarter to do that, that's for sure.
Right. Because the game has kernels. And basically what happens is, when you get near a kernel, an icon will pop up showing you how far away he is. And if you're detected, the kernel will go and throw an alarm. And then you just get flooded with enemies. And they keep coming until you finally kill that kernel. And so in some ways, like some of the kernels are set up so that you can't actually shoot them without using stealth. But some of them are set up so that you pretty much have to use stealth to get to them. Because if you try to go in guns blazing, there's like 40 guys.
Yeah, and they will kind of instantly know. Like one guy yells, and suddenly if someone sees you and goes "what," and you kill them, it won't spread. But if someone manages to yell or shoot, everybody will be like, you'll see the little red thing on the little commandant indicator spread. And there is an ability that delays that. I believe it's every time you kill one of the commandants, he drops an Enigma code fragment. And one of the upgrades is the more of those you get, the more time you have before the alarm gets set off. But it's the increments it goes up in as you level up is 0.2 seconds.
Yeah.
So your maximum bonus time, I think, if you fully max it out, you have 1 more second to do it in.
And that is one criticism I would kind of level at the game in general, is that I didn't really feel a lot of the upgrades all that much. Because you can also find pickups that give you upgrades.
You can find upgrades for the weapons, yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the upgrades for the weapons are great, like the silencer on the pistol, or the doubling of the ammo battery for the laser gun that melts walls and people.
Yeah. The armor penetration is what I chose for my main assault rifle.
And some of them are
But I didn't really see hardly any difference in it at all. Maybe it's because the enemies are scaling, and the enemies are becoming more challenging, and they have better armor. But one of the first upgrades I did was armor piercing, and I really couldn't tell the difference. The enemies do take a good amount of bullets to go down. I wouldn't call them sponges. But...
No, headshots will drop them, but if you're hitting center mass, there's a good chance that, because you got to plink off a bunch of armor first a lot of times.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is
it's very satisfying to do that.
Yeah. Well, the other nice thing is a lot of that armor you can pick up and use as armor for yourself. So there's a reason to do it, but. It's there's a lot going on here, and it's also fun. If you have a silenced weapon, you can plink the armor off a guy's back, and he'll be like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it was nothing. It's no, I think you should probably look harder on that one.
I'm having a ton of fun with this game. It's kind of our job to tell people whether they should buy it or not, though. And I got a free code. Would you recommend someone buy this at $60?
If you're looking at this and it appeals to you, yeah. It's about the most fun you'll have doing a man shooter this year. That's not multiplayer, I would think.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, too, is we were kind of talking about how gratuitous it is. It's not ugly gratuitous.
No, it's trying to build a tone, and it does it.
It does it, definitely.
I think it knows what it's trying to do and trying to be, and I think, so far at least, it's getting there. And it doesn't feel like it's trying to just be like, hey, check it out, and it's cool. It's no, you're supposed to feel like this stuff is terrible, and that's supposed to motivate you to, get on the side of the heroes and
get revenge
and get out there and kill these guys.
Yeah, I can remember a game.
As BJ himself says, you can do a lot with a hatchet and a Nazi.
Yeah, that's what he says when you pick up the hatchet for the first time.
And indeed, there's a lot of maybe it's the power armor, but he's cutting people's legs off while they're standing there in one swipe. This man is very strong.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of disembodiment, so to speak, in this game. A lot of limbs flying all over the place. And maybe before we move on, we should talk about the visuals a little bit. Obviously, everyone's getting to see what it looks like. They've just watched about 20 minutes of gameplay of it. But what are your impressions of the visuals in this game?
I think it looks good. It's not mind-bogglingly. I'm playing it on some high, some ultra on my PC. It's some of the shaders are more advanced than others, and it's not. It chugs a bit if I use the wrong settings. I feel like the ultra settings on this are kind of future-proofed a little bit. It'd be kind of like putting super sampling on The Witcher 2, whereas is to keep it looking good later. But I think it looks good. It looks better than the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a lot of detail on the character models and their costumes and armor, and you can see here, the environments are very cluttered and very detailed, and there's not a obvious path. I've gotten lost a couple times.
So have I. Even in a linear game like this, I got lost. I mean, you look at all the detail in this mangled environment here.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of games that do this, and there are certain parts too where the environment shifts, so you don't kind of know which end is up for like brief moments. There's really no garbage in this game, like quick time
stuff
events.
Can happen, like stuff can come out of the ground, stuff can drop out of nowhere. I mean, you're never totally safe.
I never feel safe in this game ever. And I like that. I don't know if I could grind through this game and play the whole thing in like a day or like 1 or 2 settings. I feel like I've enjoyed it playing it like 3 or 4 hours here and there.
And I also enjoy that, and this is a continuation from the first game, but like they really turned BJ into kind of like a kind, introspective man.
Yeah.
In this. He's constantly whispering to himself like deep truths and stuff.
Yeah, he's a little less meatheady in this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it or not, though.
Yeah, he's not.
Some of the stuff that he mutters, he's basically. I'm not going to spoil who he's muttering it to, but.
Well, he's in a very fatalistic place in the beginning of this game. I'm wondering how far that's going to go.
Yeah,
because clearly there's more to. I feel like there's a lot more to this because I played through. I didn't get to New York yet last night, but I played through to the end of like the level before that, and I saved and I quit, and I looked at my save file and it said I was 2% complete.
It's a big game.
There's meat here. There's meat on this bone.
Yeah, I mean, reviews have said it's like 15 to 18 hours or something like that, which for a single-player campaign in a first-person shooter, that's like unheard of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Titanfall 2's was really good, too, but it was like, what, 3-4 hours?
Yeah. So. I mean, generally, the average is probably like 6 hours for a first-person shooter, and this is more than double that. So, I don't know. When I think about whether people should buy this or not, I think a certain type of player should buy it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you lament the kind of the vanishing single player game, this is something to support, I would say, because it's a full price game, but it's a full length 15-hour experience. There's no loot box stuff, there's no microtransaction stuff. There's a season pass, but like you get the full story here. That's a separate thing, I think. There's a lot of meat on it. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's replay value, I think, in the various difficulty levels and the intelligence of the AI.
That to me is kind of its best selling point as far as replayability.
Yeah.
Is that the enemies never do the same thing twice.
Like I will definitely play this again on a harder difficulty, I think. Maybe not immediately, but I think...
I don't think I'm going to have time for the next couple months.
But I think like sometime next year I will boot this up again.
Yeah, I think if you're a fan of old school shooters, if you really like Doom...
Yeah.
This is kind of a very similar game. The game, by the way, is fast as
very
crap.
Fast, yeah.
I mean, not just the fact that the frame rate is blazing, which it is, but your movement speed is really, really fast.
Yeah, because the power armor gives you like some. I mean, you can cover a lot of distance fast. Like basically, like if you see a guy 100 yards away, you can probably sprint to him and melee kill him before he can get his gun up.
No, you're right. I like that about it too. It makes you make tough decisions at points. And sometimes I get him, and sometimes he gets me.
Yeah. And sometimes while you're going to get him, somebody else sees you.
Yeah.
Or the guy around the corner you didn't see before is just emptying a gun into you while you're doing your melee kill.
And one thing I would say about this campaign, well, that's all it's got, but is that I do get shot by enemies I've never seen. Which in most modern first-person shooters, that never happens. Because you always know the direction enemies are coming from. And I get outflanked in this all the time. I'm concentrating on a couple guys behind a pole. Next thing I know, some guy comes up from behind me and shoots me in the head.
Yeah, they move around you pretty effectively. Like it's kind of like early Halo kind of
it is a little bit like that.
Where it's like where like they're trying to get around you. They're trying to figure out how to like subvert what you're doing that stops them from getting a clear shot at you. They yell at each other.
They do, yeah.
About like get out of my way. You're in my shot kind of thing. And like they are. That's the thing. Is like it's not just banter. You look and like that guy ran in front of the other guy.
Yeah,
like,
and you can't shoot through them either. Those bodies are really there. So there's like some instances where I kill somebody, he lays down, and then someone's coming up the stairs. I'm trying to shoot him, and there's a body there, and the body is absorbing the bullets. So there's lots of little touches in this game that you normally don't get in these types of shooters. You can tell a lot of love and care went into its development, and a lot of thought went into it. I still would have a hard time telling just anyone to buy it. I do think it's kind of for a specific player.
Yeah, but I do think if you look at this and you like what you see and you think it looks interesting, it is what it is. It is what it says.
Go buy it.
It is what it says. Like there is no deceit in this game's marketing. Basically, it is. You are going to brutally murder Nazis in a hard,
very creative ways.
In very creative ways in a hard-fought diesel punk campaign to take back the U.S. of A.
Yeah,
and and it gets you going. Like it's an adrenaline game. I enjoy it.
And it's not just even the heart pumping. You have to think a little bit and kind of think about each scenario. And because the enemies aren't doing the same thing every time, you can't just rely on trial and error and just memorizing a pattern.
Yeah, dual wielding is not going to get you through all of this.
Yeah, like on the stream, people were like, dual wield. And like I did it for a while, and I realized I was actually kind of at a disadvantage a little bit because I couldn't be quite as accurate. And
yeah, dual wielding is a better close quarters.
It works well against the heavies, essentially.
Right.
And yeah, if you
and I do it a lot because there's a perk you get for killing a certain number of them for that, and it gives you more ammo. You can carry more ammo as you kill. Like, I think it's like
which
50,
you're going to need if you dual wield.
Which of course. But like I just like having more ammo.
Yeah.
So I'm dual wielding a lot early on to try to get that perk leveled up, and I like that. I mean, I love that perk system because it gives me a reason to play a certain way that I might not otherwise, because the reward is worth it.
I just like any game that rewards you for playing the game the way you want to play it.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal to me. Like, I hate games that are like forcing you to stealth something. It's like, now, you run out of points here, now you need to start putting your points in stealth or what. I don't like stealth. Like, a game shouldn't tell me how to play it. The game should mold to the style of play that I like, and that's what this game does. So... It's great. I mean, the game is really great, and I am into these kind of shooters. I'm an old school guy. I've been playing games for a long time. I like shooters like this, so I'm having a blast with it. I really like it. Again, I think a good analogy is Doom. I think if you bought the latest Doom and you really like that, I think you're going to like this. Whereas Doom was gory and demonic, this is gory and vaguely historic.
Yeah. I mean, historic in the way that, like, I don't know, The Prestige is historic.
Right.
There's some Tesla shit going on here. As you can see with the electric weapon that disintegrates people.
Yeah, and doors.
And doors. Certain marked walls and doors you can disintegrate with your laser kreuz or something like that. I don't remember what it's called.
Not a lot of puzzle solving in this.
No, you're not finding a lot of keys.
Nope.
or stuff like that. Just mostly finding your way is
the challenge, and then making
places.
sure you kill all the enemies before they kill you. That's kind of where the challenge is.
Yeah, so especially if you alert somebody and suddenly you're just gonna get waves of guys pouring in. At the same time, waves of guys pouring in can be an opportunity to build your perks. So
True.
Depends how you want to approach it.
But this is one thing I'll say before we move on is, most shooters, what you can do is you can kind of run out into the environment, get everybody chasing you, and then run to a narrow hallway, and then just hunker down and mow them down as they come into the doorway. That doesn't happen in this game.
No, they're not dumb enough to follow you. Like
they won't even come into the hallway. They'll sit and like hold cover, and you're like waiting for them to pop out, and next thing you know, some dude comes from the side and like shoots you in the head and kills you. Like, it's completely unpredictable, and I love that.
The very
about it.
first level, there's like you can activate these like Tesla style traps that will zap people that go through them, and they'll see a guy run through, and the guy behind him will be like, "Wait a minute!" Like he won't do it, and he'll try to find a way around.
Yeah,
and
very rewarding watching enemies get killed by those traps. I might add.
Yeah, there's that, especially when you first run into that scientist guy with Set, you run into him in his room where he's zapping guys.
Yeah,
and while he's talking to you, he turns on the trap to stop the Nazis from coming in. Make sure you watch out the window while that's because like 4 groups of Nazis come through, and like it's hilarious. Like the various reactions to them like figuring out what's happening but still screwing up is great.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of care taken into almost every shot.
Every little part of it. Yeah. And it is kind of one of those games where you get to learn every section of it. Like a lot of games you just kind of run through them, like Call of Duty's like that. Like after I play a Call of Duty game, I maybe have like 5 or 6 really vivid memories of areas that I was in. After you play an area of this game, you know that area. You pretty much know all the cubbies, you know the little places where you can go through like a ductwork and get into another room. Like you really learn it, and it forces you to learn the environment, and I like it. So good stuff, people. I give a thumbs up for Wolfenstein II, but again, I don't think it's exactly for everyone. And if you're squeamish, don't even think about it. This is the last game that you want to play.
Yeah, it's a violent game.
It is probably the most violent game of 2017 so far. I can't think of one.
I'm not coming up with anything else, so yeah.
There may be some little indie game out there that all it is about violence, but this definitely, as far as big budget games are concerned, this is the most over-the-top, most gory and violent game of 2017.
I mean, there's a lot of, like, intensity and violence in like Hellblade, but like there's not as much dismemberment.
Yeah. And and there's no game in this year either where I hate the enemies as much as I hate the enemies in this one. They're easy to dislike, not just even because they're Nazis.
Right. Well, that's the nice thing about it is, well, not I don't know if it's nice, but like, Machine Games did not simply rest on the fact that, oh, they're Nazis, so that's enough.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we need, kind of like the Red, like it was like a Red Skull kind of thing in Captain America. It's like, we need a Nazi who's the worst Nazi.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting there.
I think they nailed it. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Fire Emblem Warriors. I've been sitting on this code for a couple weeks. It came in right before I had to go back home for the funeral. And unfortunately, I did take my Switch with me on the trip, but I just wasn't in the mood to play. So I got back, downloaded it, and started giving it a go. Matt, how much time have you spent with this game at this point?
I'm on like chapter 12 or 13 of the career, so probably a few hours.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 or 3 chapters is probably enough to have a handle on what's happening, really.
It definitely is.
It is very much, I mean, obviously it's a Warriors game, so blah, 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 but it's very much in the mold of Hyrule Warriors, I think.
Yeah.
There's a little more happening on the battlefield. There's a little more character work going on. I do really like, there's nods to Fire Emblem, like in how Fire Emblem plays. Some of it is annoying, like the way everybody levels up in the middle of the battle. There is a more streamlined mode you can pick that does not interrupt things like that, but I don't do it because I like to know where my guys are and what they're doing.
Well, the one thing I would say is when you start the game, it does give you a lot of options to kind of shape how you want to play it.
But it doesn't explain what they mean, so you're sort of like, I guess I want to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I wished I had turned off like all the tips and the tutorial stuff.
Yeah, that gets a little oppressive.
Yeah, at first it's really annoying because they are just popping up constantly and kind of stopping the action. And with this game, like maybe Nintendo is counting on kids playing this game.
Most Nintendo exclusives kind of have that thing where like you have to teach someone to play like they've never picked the controller up before.
Yeah, it's really heavy-handed in this one though.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just sort of it's Hyrule Warriors is like that too. I just sort of power through it. I do like that there's a little more emphasis on strategy in this. There's a little more emphasis on taking locations. You can switch between characters whenever you want, which kind of like brings in the team.
Sometimes it
gives you a certain number of certain characters once things are going. Like right now, most of my missions, I have like 4 characters I can swap between. You can team up with those characters and like kind of keep them as like sort of a tag partner of sorts. So it still feels like Fire Emblem in some ways. Like there's still an element to that I think is pretty good.
Controls are very simple.
Yeah.
Light attack, heavy attack.
Yeah, basically.
Roll, and then you have your ultimate.
Right, and then you can tap. The combos are very simple, just like Dynasty Warriors. It's just light, and you can drop into the other attack form and get a combo or a finisher out of it usually. You can upgrade all of them to get a couple more hits out of your combo chains. The end of the hard combo chains tends to be things that just take down. Even normal combos like that one you just saw. Like I've killed 100 people with that combo. Yeah. Like it's just the kill numbers go up like crazy. It should give you a clue in that. There's a character named Anna who opens a pop-up store in every level that you can go get like a piece of. Basically, it's a piece of like a tile puzzle like from the DS like puzzle swap thing, the Mii thing, and her trigger to pop up is 1,000 kills, which happens like that
very quickly.
I mean, there's no question. So yeah, I mean. And there's that, like you saw there's that little like circular like meter there. That's the stun meter. So if you get an opening on a guy, and then he gets that meter, and then if you hack it down to nothing, you basically do an auto like super combo thing on him. I don't know if that was in previous games, like previous Warriors games or not, but it's a fun little mechanic that has a little bit of a. I guess it's not really strategy, but like it ties in with the weapon triangle that Fire Emblem is based on, with the axes and swords and spears. So spears beat swords, swords beat axes, axes beat spears. So you are actually at a disadvantage if you have a sword character and you go up against a spear character. Not that much, because I mean, if you're up against a named Fire Emblem character, maybe. But if you're up against like a captain or something, and he has a spear and you have a sword, you're still going to win. Like the heroes in this game are obscenely overpowered.
The game, I have a lot of issues with this game, but the biggest one is it is just too damn easy.
It's very easy.
I feel like I could play this game with my butt, and like seriously, like I even thought about like doing that demo here on the show and like literally playing it with my butt and finishing a level. It is so easy.
Well, I don't think my health has ever dropped below 2/3 full.
And they're just constantly giving you health.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever used a health vial.
No.
Like, it's way too simple. And maybe, I don't know, I'm about 5 hours into it, and I just don't feel like I really had a challenge at all.
No. I mean, I'm probably about, what, Chapter 12, Chapter 13, it's the same thing. And of course, I've just gotten through the section where you basically split your forces in two, and one side meets the Hoshiden army from Fire Emblem Fates, and the other meets the Nor Empire from Fire Emblem Fates, and then you come back together at the end. But it's all the same. It's the Marvel crossover thing where everybody has the misunderstanding and gets in a big fight, and at the end you beat the living shit out of like thousands of troops, and they're like, "Oh, I misheard you. Sorry, let's all team up now." It's just like, what? Okay. I mean, I don't. There's nothing. There's no. It's paper thin.
Yeah.
And,
the plot is really dumb. Like,
yeah, which is not. I mean, Fire Emblem games aren't Tolstoy, but they're usually a little better than this.
Yeah. I don't know. I would not recommend buying this game.
Not at full price, no. I mean, I didn't buy.
To me, this is like.
I didn't buy Hyrule Warriors for full price either. I got it for like $20 at Target, and I thought that was a fine price to pay.
Yeah, this is like the perfect like $20 game, basically.
Yeah. But we know Nintendo, and it will not be $20 for years.
No, it may never go down to $20. But that's what I would recommend buying this game at. I will say, like, I think it does a pretty classy job of handling the IP.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Team Ninja actually did some consultation with Nintendo on it and said, hey, what are the important elements of it?
Especially having played a couple Dynasty Warriors games and Muso All-Stars recently, this feels way better than those games.
I would rather play this than
no
pretty
question.
much Dynasty Warriors or any of them. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I really love Fire Emblem. But
it's also, this game and Hyrule Warriors feel a lot better to play.
They do.
Than the normal Koei output.
I agree, and they're much less sterile, and they're a lot more fun and invigorating. I mean, the one thing I'll say about it is that no matter, you can suck at this game and feel like you're amazing at it.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to do amazing combos and pull off amazing, just wipe out like 100 enemies with like one swipe or whatever. And it's like pulling off an ultimate. It's just you push one button and it automatically targets all the enemies.
And then if that doesn't work, you can pull the R trigger and activate your awakening bar, which makes you even more powerful. Like there's no way you're losing.
Nope.
In this game. Like it's
you basically just grind your way all the way through.
Yeah.
And one thing I would say is, with the Switch being a handheld console hybrid, this is kind of a good game on handheld.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Like you don't want like a hard line hack and slash like thinking game if like on a plane.
Well, it's like playing Zelda or whatever in handheld mode. That's fine when you're sitting on the couch, but if you're actually out in the world playing really complicated, in-depth games on a handheld, to me it doesn't really click. This is kind of one of those mindless games that you can pull out, play a couple hours of, mash your way through a few levels, put it away, come back and pick it up. So I think it maybe as a handheld game, it has a little bit more value. But as far as just sitting on your couch and playing it and playing several hours of it, I got tired of this game really quickly. And I do not recommend picking it up, particularly when there are plenty of other really good games available for Switch.
I mean, maybe if you're a really hardcore Fire Emblem fan,
you're going to buy it no matter what.
Who also likes the very specific games that they're drawing from, because this doesn't cover the whole spread of Fire Emblem by any means, and there's some DLC coming that will help with that, but like it's recent stuff for the most part, and that's about it. The English voice acting is awful,
so bad,
and then you can download the Japanese voice pack, and I don't think that's very good either. And now I can't understand what they're saying on the battlefield because a lot of it's not subtitled.
Well, I'll say one thing. A lot of people complain about Metroid Other M's story, which was another Nintendo first-party game developed by Team Ninja. But, man, Metroid Other M looks like it deserves a Pulitzer after playing this game.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know.
There's at least no character assassination in this game.
I don't know. I guess it depends.
Well, I mean, I have
on perspective.
assassinated a few people, but
Right.
I mean, it's what they did to Samus in that game is not comparable because like most of the characters, the main central characters in this are new.
Yeah.
Which is even weirder because it's like, do you really need more characters in the? There's a weird. The story is basically about like something happens and like someone's trying to bring back the Chaos Dragon. And so all these worlds are kind of mushing together, and that's why you keep meeting Fire Emblem characters, and no one really knows what's going on. But everyone decides the best thing to do is have really, really big fights.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Sure. Why not?
But I think this is kind of it's odd because this is a release schedule filler.
Yeah.
This is a game that typically would come out during those Nintendo doldrums, those 6-month periods where you're not getting any first-party games from Nintendo, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this came out when there are games to buy and play.
Yeah, you don't really need this game right now.
Like
you've got Mario right here, and Xenoblade is coming like in a month and a half, not even that. And like, I don't know, maybe check back with this one in the spring.
Yeah.
You know?
If Nintendo were smart, it would have probably released this in the spring.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be a good February, March game.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not into like probably whatever they're putting out like Yoshi or Kirby in that window probably.
All next year, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting.
So,
Yoshi and Kirby.
I mean, I think it's fun and it feels good to play, but it's super brain dead even for a Warriors game.
Yeah, I mean, you also have Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming up. It's like,
I mean, this scratches a different itch, but like, look, if you haven't already bought this sight unseen, because it is exactly what it says. Like, like if you want a Fire Emblem game that's a Dynasty Warriors game, you're done. Like,
there it is.
This is exactly what you want, and
Yeah.
you can decide how much money that's worth to you.
And it does have a lot of the same issues as other Dynasty Warriors games, meaning you fight the same enemies over and over and over again, and they don't really change their behaviors at all.
But I enjoy it, but it's, it went in its case when Mario arrived, and I don't see me choosing to boot it up in favor of the 4 or 5 other things that have come out this week and are coming out in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed with it, really, because it's exactly what I expected it to be, but, like, I can't
I didn't expect it to be good, and it's not.
I expected it to be exactly what it is, and I am pleased enough by that, but I can't tell anybody to run out and buy it unless this is exactly what you want today.
I'm pretty surprised
And today, like, I can't imagine that's what you want right now.
No way.
On your Switch.
No, I can't. I've been kind of surprised at how high the review scores have been for this.
Well,
I mean, it's sitting at like 7, 8-ish. Like,
it's that Nintendo bump.
That's too high. It's way too high.
It is too high, but it's Fire Emblem, so it gets.
I guess.
Bonus.
Does Fire Emblem get a bump too now?
I don't know.
Apparently, every Nintendo game does.
Is it exclusive on the Switch? Maybe it does.
Yeah, I don't know. I would not spend $60 for this game. Is it even $60?
Yeah,
it is. Full
it is
price.
$60 and a $19 season pass.
Wow, that's some wishful thinking right there.
I bought the game. I don't regret. I mean, it's exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I'm a Fire Emblem fan. I like the character designs, but I knew what I was getting into, and it sure is what I expected to get into. And I will go back to it. I probably, if I wasn't on doing this show, I probably would have waited until the spring, and maybe hoped for like a $20 off moment or something. Because these, I mean, I waited.
Nintendo never cuts the price of first-party software
because they don't have to. And I waited 2 years and change for Hyrule Warriors to drop to where I wanted it to be. But
it's a long wait.
Yeah,
that's some serious patience.
But I did play. I mean, I played it for like 30 hours when
Yeah.
I got it. I mean, it's the same thing. It's totally mindless, but it has these characters that I like, and
See, I'm far more attached to the characters from Zelda than the characters from Fire Emblem.
Well, I don't even
though
know
I probably spent more time with Fire Emblem characters than Zelda characters.
True, but I mean, I can't even name most of the characters in Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, there's Marth, and I mean, look, I'm naming the characters that were in Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
It's like the characters that are in Smash Brothers and the characters that I have amiibos of. Those are the Fire Emblem characters I remember, right?
I think most people probably are on the same page there.
But I just like the character designs of Fire Emblem, and I think they translate real well here.
Yeah, surprisingly. For a game that's pretty much a strategy RPG, that it works so well in a hack and slash. So
the character, I think they translate real well to amiibos too. I think the Fire Emblem characters are some of the coolest designs Nintendo puts out on a regular basis.
Yeah, and they make a lot of them.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, we should also mention that you can choose permadeath in this game.
Right, there's the Fire Emblem.
We forgot to mention that.
You can pick casual or classic, just like the current Fire Emblem games.
And so when you lose someone, they're gone for good.
Forever.
Yeah, I did not choose that, by the way. Did you?
No, although I have not lost anyone, so it's
I haven't either.
I don't know if that's even a factor.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty hard to die in that game. So, all right, it's time to move on, and it's time to pick the winner of our Patreon October loot box raffle. And I have here a monkey ball. And we are going to pop the monkey ball open. I bought this in Japan. It's one of my favorite pieces of swag. You can see the monkey even swings inside there. We're going to use this to draw the numbers. So we have about 89 patrons eligible to win the loot box. So what we're going to do is we have numbers 0 through 9 here. And we're going to pull 2 numbers. And whatever that number is, we're going to go to the list of patrons on our Patreon. We're going to find who that person is, and they'll be the winner. So, Matt, I'll let you draw these.
Oh.
I'm going to put the numbers in the monkey ball.
Is it a super monkey ball?
I think it is.
It looks kind of like a moderate monkey ball.
We'll shake them up. And we're going to show you the Patreon page once we have the numbers. One of the many changes for GameFace. We have like PCs wired directly into our TriCaster. So,
yeah. Well, I don't.
You will. That's the one thing we didn't get done. We did not get Matt's computer set up. So right now he just has a mouse and keyboard.
I have a keyboard, but it doesn't do anything. So don't be fooled.
Yeah, they use a mouse too, but it doesn't do anything. All right. So I think these are mixed up pretty well.
I had to reload the chat app because it stopped updating.
Oh, really?
You always want to see the chat app when you chat happening when we're doing stuff like this.
Okay, so pull the first number, and make sure you only pull one when you pull one out of there. What is it?
6.
That's a 6. All right, throw it back in there. Mix them back up. Okay, make sure you only take one.
7.
67. All right, so flip over to the PC.
The 6 and the 9 have lines under them indicating which way up they are. So
Yep.
yeah, there's no confusion there.
All right, so it's number 67. We have 89 total, so it's probably easier to go to the bottom and count up. All right, so here it is. So 89, 88, 87, 86, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81, 80, 79, 78, 77, 76, 75, 74, 73, 72, 71, 70. Here we go. 69, 68, 67. David Duwong wins October's loot box. Let me write that down so I can make sure I can reach out to him. I don't know if David's watching the stream, but he is the winner. So David, if you're watching this on Patreon or the archive or whatever, we will reach out to you and we will get your shipping address and we'll ship out that loot box to you. So congratulations, buddy, and thank you for your patronage. Thanks to everybody else. We'll do another drawing at the end of next month for next month's loot box. And we'll just keep on rocking. So congratulations to David Duong. All right, let's talk next about Assassin's Creed Origins. And this is one of the changes we have for GameFace going forward. We are going to play games live on the show. So first we're going to talk about it a little bit, and then we'll jump into like a live demo of the game. So I am about, I don't know, handful of hours into the game, something like that.
I gotta be around 15, I think. I'm out of the beginning area and into in Alexandria and doing all the quests in Alexandria, and got my hidden blade. And you start out killing 5. You're looking for 5 masked culty dudes, and you've already killed one at the beginning. And so now I'm at the point where I've killed all 5 of them, even though like only one of them you actually get to kill, or 2 of them you get to kill in gameplay. And so I assume something else is going to happen soon, because the game is way too big to just be that. So clearly there's hints of more conspiracy coming. So I think I've basically done kind of the Act 1-ish part. In fact, somewhere around hour 11, a trophy popped up that was called "I'm Just Getting Started."
Oh wow!
It's big. Like, the game is huge.
Let's set up the story, the plot of the game.
Yeah. So you play as Bayek, who is he's a magi, not plural of mage, but Madjay, who is a kind of a wise man, helper, badass kind of character. And he's basically like the Pharaoh has gone full tyrant in some way, and you went kind of rogue on it, and the secret society wanted you to let them into it was a precursor vault or something with an apple of Eden. But you don't know what that is. Like basically, nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing where it's told in like weird flashbacks and jump forwards that I think was cut up. I feel like this game started differently originally. I feel like originally you played through his family life with his kids and everything. And
you think so?
Yes, because like the flashbacks where you play as him before his family got ripped apart feels to me like those early Assassin's Creed 3 things where you play as like kind of the younger version, and then I think the original idea was to sort of build that up and then have it be ripped away, and I think they changed that so that you get the open world stuff immediately, which I think is gameplay-wise what more people are after and want a taste of me, because otherwise you'd be doing that Assassin's Creed thing where you're getting railroaded through story sections for the first hour and a half of the game.
Yeah.
And part of this point of this game is to sort of reinvent the formula a little bit, and I think it was wise. It feels a little choppy, but I think it was wise to do it the way they did it. And
I mean, the basic plot.
So he's got a dead kid, and he's taking revenge.
Yeah, I mean, the basic plot is Bayek has been gone for a long time.
Yeah, he's been gone for like, I think 6 months or a year.
He returns, and the whole village is like, "Thank God you're back," because the ruler has kind of created a police state in the area, and they're forcing people to pay taxes and all this other awful crap. Basically, they're being oppressed.
Yeah, and it's there's a scene like the first or second scene in the game is from like a year earlier, and it shows Bayek kind of watching the Pharaoh go by in his entourage, and the Pharaoh looks at him and like reacts to seeing him, and then it cuts away, and I don't know what that's about. I assume something is related there that we don't know about yet. And then, of course, on top of that, early on in the game, you find out that yes, we are still in the Animus, and we're playing as yet another character in 2017, whose name is Layla. Yeah. And she is doing some kind of rogue. She doesn't know that Abstergo is a front for the Templars, but she just wants to be like a top level Abstergo developer. And she's basically found this Egyptian tomb that Bayek is in, and is siphoning off his DNA somehow to live through his memories, even though she's not related to him, which is apparently very dangerous. And there's a lot of comlink yelling about how she needs to watch out for her kidneys or something. So basically, there's like that's the setup for both angles of the story. There's very little modern day stuff in it so far.
You're way ahead of me, so you're already talking about stuff that I haven't experienced. So
you're right there. If you're where you were when I saw the screen earlier before we started the show, like you have to go talk to that guy, and we will get our first modern day.
Well, let's fire it up. Actually, let's do that. So let's switch over, Sam, to the live game. All right. So here we are. There's my camel. So your camel is the mount in this game, and you can hold down on the D-pad and summon the camel at any time. I played a couple missions where you have to go and rescue people, and you actually pick them up and then put them on the camel and then get on the camel yourself.
Yeah.
I'll just jump on there real quick
with rather hilarious physics.
Yeah. The game does not look as good as I thought it was going to. And I'm playing it on the base PS4, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm playing it on Pro, and it looks amazing.
Really?
Like the vistas and the environments are amazing. There's a lot of glitchy animation stuff, though.
Yeah, it has. I mean, there's drawing, like there's LOD issues. There's
I haven't seen
objects.
much of that.
I do. There's objects that just pop in. Like if you're running kind of quick, like you'll see stuff like popping into view.
Ground clutter pops in. I haven't seen like big stuff like trees really, but it hasn't bothered me so much. I mean, it's kind of standard open world stuff. Like there's a lot of like vistas. I mean, I'm a ancient Egypt fan to begin with, and so like a bunch of this stuff is just awesome to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, that's something I love about this series always is how historically accurate it is, and how it gives me a chance to kind of live.
And it feels like it's gone back to that in a real way here, and because the last few games I was feeling a little out of it in that regard, because it's like Victorian London, not quite as exciting to me as like an ancient civilization, but this is great. I really am having a good time, like just running around the world. And the other thing you should be noted, it is different. It's not a total reinvention of the wheel.
Though?
It is, because there's a lot more. This game's open world and how it functions is lifted almost wholesale from The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
The way there have never really been side quests in Assassin's Creed before, and the way that the game kind of unfolds, and you're running to question mark locations of interest. You're kind of completing each location just like The Witcher 3. You're finding side quests and like going to do things like The Witcher 3. I mean, hell, even throwing people on the horse and riding back with them is part of that. So the combat isn't taken from Witcher 3. But the open world feel, because they did say they were taking inspiration from The Witcher 3 when they were trying to kind of reinvent this wheel, and I totally see The Witcher 3 in how the open world functions. I mean, it's not an exact parallel, but I see that they're taking from that, and I think it's an improvement for the most part. I like running around the world in this more than I have in a lot of the other Assassin's Creed.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So here we're seeing the modern day stuff. I mean, I don't know. I've not spent a ton of time with the game, but it feels pretty much exactly like Assassin's Creed to me. I
don't agree with that at all.
I am disappointed in the lack of changes in this game.
See, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's very, very different, and not all in a good way. I feel like you have even less control over the character. There is no sprint button.
Yeah.
There is no climb faster button. There's a climb button, but there is no climb faster button.
How did it go?
The assassinate is a different button now. It's triangle instead of square, which is screwing me up constantly. So and the combat is kind of like Dark Souls for idiots.
Combat is better purely because they've gotten rid of the counter kills finally.
Right.
Kind of.
But
because the first thing I upgraded, and to me the biggest difference is the flexibility you have in building the character that you want to play as. And that to me is the biggest change. Because there are skill trees, and there's 3 different areas. There's combat, there's like stealth, and then what's the...
It's hunter and warrior and seer. And that's roughly divided between melee combat and bow combat and stealth / economy stuff, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. That's the third one I could think of.
That's seer. So seer is sort of the support side of things, I guess you'd say. That one is more like get better prices for selling stuff, and I actually worked and the gadgets and stuff. So like poison darts and berserk darts and sleep darts. I actually worked my way. One of the first things I did is I worked my way through that tree to be able to tame animals. So I was running around with a tamed hippo for a while. That was kind of awesome.
This is so badass.
Be careful. I would also say there's also a lot of Far Cry.
There is. You had a lot of hunting, a lot of looting. A
lot of looting. There's a lot of...
You have to gather pelts so you can create... which isn't really anything new to Assassin's Creed. You always kind of had that frontier type part of the game.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot more of it, and the upgrades are under the user's control, I'd say, is the big difference. Whereas like... There was a lot more story-related gating in the previous ones. Where even in the earlier Ezio and Connor ones, you couldn't even upgrade your hidden blade until a certain story mission let you.
Right.
Whereas in this, if you have the skins or the materials, you can upgrade him. You can upgrade him pretty far. And I've been running. I do tend to get distracted and run around open worlds and just. I mean, I massacred so many damn hippos the other day, and just like messing with things like taming a crocodile and taking him over to the lion pride and seeing what they do. The answer is they kill each other. bringing my hippo around and fighting like lions and stuff. Oh, there's your title after about 4 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, it takes a while. Well, it just shows you how big the game is.
Yeah, the game, there's a lot to do. And I mean,
we should have talked about the eagle as well.
Yeah, your
the eagle's
is
a huge component of the game.
That is your spotter, just like in like Far Cry, whereas like I mean, there's an eagle in you can use in Far Cry Primal, or Far Cry 4 would probably be like that drone thing, or Ghost Recon would be the drone thing. I mean, the map is comparable to Ghost Recon in size.
Yeah, for sure. It's gigantic.
A lot of places to go.
The eagle, so what it does, so say you need X number of pelts or whatever, you can call on the eagle to scout the area, and he will identify where those pelts are, and then you can travel and get them.
And he'll point out,
Here,
so
I'll
you can
show
see
you
that.
right
You
here.
see that there. Where'd they go?
See, I love this. I love how we're in control, and we can actually show people what we're talking about.
I don't know where that went, but there was a that hide thing you could see. So that is an indicator of... he doesn't point out every single animal, but he does point out ones that have more hide than others. So like, like one you mark with the hide icon will give you like 3 or 4 instead of just 1.
He'll do it with mission objectives too, though.
Yeah, well, like he is your scout in a way that nothing else in the series has been. So
they're showing you like, oh, there's wood resources.
That's wood. Yeah. Well, that's very important, by the way, because it's very hard to get wood in this game. Which is not a sex joke, but you can make it one if you want. But like, oh, look at that body just warp in there. Do you see that?
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of graphics.
There's a lot of weird glitches. I mean, the game is not like technologically broken the way like Unity was, but it's rough in places.
And they had an extra year. I mean, that's the crazy part to me.
Well, there's a lot going on here, and like as you get further into this section, you realize like there is a ton of content in this. I mean, side quests out the ass, like constantly. I mean, I've been running around kind of doing whatever I want to do, and I think right now I have like 15 quests in my log to do, and they're all like appropriate to my level. It's not like I'm like hoarding stuff and not doing anything. It's all so like you can raid those convoys, which is a lot of fun. Because those guys never quite know what to do the first time you rip one of them off the horse and stab him in the face.
But I love the bird because
the bird is great.
It takes out a lot of the work from the franchise.
And what you'll do with like so there's points of interest, as you can see with the question marks here. And if you have him go near a question mark, actually I don't know if it works if you just get the bird near the question mark or if you have to physically be near it too. But if you get in there, and you'll have each area has a certain amount of things you have to do to quote unquote complete it, which is usually once you discover it, So it'll be like loot certain whatever number of treasures are there, and sometimes kill captains or commanders that are there. And so you use the bird to mark those. But the way you have to find them is like you have to sort of follow a hot and cold like graphical thing that like sort of lets you home in, and then once you find it, it marks it and it's on your map.
Look at this map, people.
So he is. So the bird is your. Well, here hit the touchpad to pull the map up and pull all the way out. Keep going.
That's as far as it'll go out.
So if you scroll around, you can see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the game is gigantic.
And so if you like so I've been playing however like 15, 16 hours, and like if you look at up top where you are, the only stuff I've covered are the lake, Alexandria, Canopus, and Satme. Like that's as far as I've gotten.
Wow. So Matt has played 15 hours.
And that's
and he's
all.
Just played this area, right
and I'm not done with. I still have tons and tons of quests and stuff and locations to deal with.
So you're definitely going to get your money's worth with this game.
Yeah, if you do like this game, you're set. Like you're set for the duration, basically.
And here, let's kind of show the quests as well.
So this is new to this
yeah,
series.
the quest system's really good. It keeps you on target. You can select whichever one you want, and it'll give you like an icon on the map that'll lead you to that mission. Mm-hmm. Let's look at the gear real quick.
It is a loot game.
It is, yeah. And so you can just pick up weapons from enemies that you kill. Mm-hmm. You can find them. They're given to you sometimes, but you can also craft them. So down here you can see, here's where you can craft like new armor.
Yeah, all the lower 6 squares there are all your ongoing character upgrade.
Yeah.
That's all crafting. And that will be your hidden blade once you get it.
Yep.
And that over there will be your tools, your ammo for tools. And then the
Let's show the skill tree.
and then the weapons.
So you can see which tree I've been going down.
Yeah.
I'm all about combat. The first one I grabbed, or one of the first ones I grabbed, was parry. And I was talking earlier about how counter kills kind of ruin the prior games, even though I use them over and over again. Because I would try not to, but if I get into a pinch, I would always use them.
Right.
But there's no real counter kill in this, where it's just an automatic kill. You can parry,
because
and that opens up the enemy.
Yeah, well, this is using basically the Dark Souls style.
Yeah.
I mean, the combat in this, R1 is light attack, R2 is hard attack. You've got the parry system there. You've got a charge up. You haven't unlocked it yet, but you can charge up your heavy attack and break shields. It is basically Dark Souls light in that it has sort of the same style thing going on. You have to use lock-ons judiciously to keep on target well, but there's no stamina meter.
Yeah.
Which is probably good for you because the stamina meter is kind of the thing that your barrier in Dark Souls. So that keeps
you're right.
this from being...
It is what frustrates me the most.
So that keeps this from being frustrating to you, I would think.
Yeah.
So there's that said, it is not like the old games where, if I saw a fort full of like 25 guys in the old Assassin's Creeds, I just jump in and start counter killing everybody to death.
Because they would stand
like
around
Batman.
and wait for you to kill each other.
That does not happen in this. If you're up against probably more than 3 or 4 guys, at least early in the game, like you are gonna have a fight on your hands, like a hard fight. And I have been, I've been grinding a little bit just in the sense of finding weapons. And if you can upgrade your weapons, I do like this part is you can pay drachmas. The currency in the game. You can pay blacksmiths to upgrade any weapon or item you want up to your level. So if you have, I have
a question about that because I went to the blacksmith one time and he would not activate. I don't know if that was a bug.
That has happened to me a couple times because if somebody gets scared, you can't interact with them.
Okay.
So there might have been like a guard running around and freaked them out or something. You have to leave and kind of. But
you
come
can
back.
can you not see all the stuff drawn in there under those trees?
Yeah, but
let me run back down this hill again, and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
It doesn't do that on mine as bad.
Really?
Yeah, I think the Pro mitigates that to some degree.
Interesting.
Like how it's kind of barren under there. Like I don't recall seeing it do that on mine.
Okay.
There is drawing. There is, like carts and bags and sacks and stuff on the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, that looks a little worse than what I've seen.
But you can see you discover areas in this. You climb towers.
Oh yeah.
And so there's
and
a lot of
kill goats by running over them like a jerk.
So there are. To me, it is still very similar.
And there's the ox cart. Hey, bro, easy. That ox would rather be in Mario Odyssey.
Clearly. This is what I'm talking about. The game is rough. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff like this. At one point, I had to steal a cart, and I tried to turn it around on the bridge I stole it on, and the horses just hung over the edge, and the game literally said, "This is broken. Go to the menu and hit restart."
Really?
Quest. I had to go into the quest markers and basically say reset objective.
Are you kidding me?
And it put it on the other side of the city, and I had to go do it again. So they know that there's parts that are a little, and there's a couple things where I think was it this area? Now there's a temple with a big pool in the middle of it, and I tried to leap the pool with a horse I was riding, and I missed, and the horse just landed in the pool. And the horse has been in the pool ever since.
Really?
I think it probably went away now that I left the area. But the horse couldn't get out of the pool, so he just sort of swam there forever.
I had a problem where that mission where you go and pick the guy up and then put him on I jumped the camel down onto the roof of this house, and the roof had walls all around the top of it, and I could not get the camel.
He wouldn't auto jump over it. Yeah.
And I tried to pick the guy up and take him off, and then go get on the camel separately, and I just ended up just resetting the game.
Huh.
So yeah, it's definitely rough around the edges in a lot of ways.
It's not Unity rough, but it is.
No.
You'll see funny things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I haven't run into anything that was super game breaking, but the immersion is broken here and there, for sure.
I think what I would say overall, and look, I've only scratched the surface of this game.
It's big.
But the one thing I would say is it is a very similar experience, and maybe that's good.
It's recognizably Assassin's Creed, but I think they change up some of the stuff that needed to be changed up. There's a lot more player agency in what you do and when you do it, how you direct your character. I think the fact that the enemies are more dangerous makes the assassin-y creeding a little more intense. Not intense necessarily, but like you feel like you have to do it, as opposed to just running around like Batman, basically. You know.
There does seem to be a good bit of this too, where you just follow someone around really slowly while they show you stuff.
Yeah, this lightens up more because this is like you get to Alexandria and you talk to people and they introduce you to all these things. And then after, like, you basically, once you do enough of the main story quests where you get your hidden blade, they stop railroading you as much.
Gotcha. I would like to show some combat, hopefully, before we move on. I want to kind of explain how the combat system works.
Unfortunately, all we're going to see right here is hide and seek.
Oh, really?
This is a kind of a long, conversation-driven story.
And I don't think I can... Oh, I can skip it.
You can skip it, yeah.
I can always go back and watch it later. So now I have what,
So now you have to find this guy's kids.
Well, here's one right here, apparently. Or wait, I thought there was. So it's a scavenger hunt. There's one.
Yeah.
You found me. Your turn.
And so what they're trying to teach you how to use the hawk here. So basically you need to call in the hawk, and so there you saw, like, you zoomed in on the one guy, you zoomed in on the target, there's another target found, and then you have to follow that yellow crescent to find the other one, and like it'll you know the reticle will basically shrink as you find them, and you can hold L2 to hover, and it's easier to aim at things that way.
But you can see all the stuff the bird picks up. I mean, it's just, there's stuff everywhere for you to go and loot and get resources.
And this is very important as you move on, and you need the resources.
I mean, it's pretty important right out of the gate, to be honest. It's like the game makes you kind of learn how to use it, and it makes a point right from the start that it's something you're gonna have to learn.
You see the white there.
Yeah.
So that indicates there's either a treasure or something like that in there for you to find. Whereas the yellow means it's quest vital.
Is that gunshots I'm hearing? What is that? Someone's setting off fireworks outside our building, apparently.
Well, it's almost Halloween.
It doesn't make sense. It could be gunshots. This is Los Angeles.
So you gotta go into hover mode and find this last yellow one.
Can you hear that on our mics, Sam?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you look down from there? Yeah, so you gotta, look, it's in the well.
There it is.
Playing in the well. Good job, Timmy. So then if you want to find, if you go back into hover mode and kind of turn around, you see the white there?
Yeah.
So I think you already did it. So if you zoom in and get that reticle as small as you can.
How do you zoom in?
Oh, you're already zoomed in, sorry. Just try to get that reticle not on him, like kind of go, so it's a little bigger. Yeah, so you want like that there. You saw how it got smaller and then it located those stairs?
Yeah.
Like that's, the white stuff is just sort of points of interest or treasures.
So I still need to find 3 more.
So you found all the kids. You've marked them all. You've marked all the yellow diamonds.
So now I just have to.
So now you just go back to Bayek, and you should be able to just find them.
Yeah. So you can see that the using the eagle is a huge part of this game.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. It's like someone. Is like a drum circle. What's going on?
Something's going on out there. I'm glad we're in here. That's for sure. That was crazy.
It's probably there's people that like in this building that like take classes on how to find crystals with your mind.
Look at this guy.
Welcome to Los Angeles, folks.
Not this time. But I hope to pass by.
Yeah, see, this game is definitely janky.
Bayek even kind of went, "What the hell?"
Yeah, it's got problems for sure. I mean, but you're right; it's not as bad as Unity.
Yeah, I mean they're cosmetic. I haven't seen anything running, on the level of what happened with Unity.
Let's hop down the well here. Let go.
Keba, what in the name of the gods are you doing down
do anything with these people?
You just have to find. Well, this kid, you're gonna have to
carry him out.
No, you have to bust out of the well.
Stay calm. I will help you out of there.
Kiba is trapped in a well. So just hack that.
Oh, I just hack it?
Yeah.
This fence here.
This way.
Let me out.
Go straight home to
All
your
right.
mother.
Is that done?
She will be worried.
You got to find one more kid. The kid on the roof.
Seems like I can climb almost anything in this game too.
Yeah, he's real good
It's
at
like
finding
you don't
handholds.
need like handholds or anything. Like he just goes.
Well, masonry was not an exact science.
Yeah.
I wanted to just. It took me a while to kind of learn it, but just hold X when you jump off things, and you'll do the roll to prevent.
See,
damage.
my instinct is to hit circle.
Same.
Yeah. From all the prior games.
You have to unlearn a few things
Asina?
for
else, bro?
arbitrary reasons. It seems like some of the changes I don't really understand, but okay.
Only the priests are permitted
All
here.
right, so let's finish this
No
quest.
hats.
Hopefully I can get into a little bit of combat here quickly. Is he just going to follow me back or something?
Come down now.
Yeah.
We can watch stars from the riverbank.
I think the conversation is said to
That's the
end,
last of the children.
and now you should get now you should be told to go speak to the priest again,
Okay.
or maybe he's not a priest. He's your friend.
Let's see. Let's check the map real quick. Should be something on the HUD. Where is it?
It's in the building, so it's like kind of below you. See?
All right.
Any Sigeriet?
No, that's not a
Yeah,
way.
you also spend a surprising amount of time stepping on sacred shrines with no consequences. Like I've run through like offerings and stepped in magic pools, and everyone's just like, whatever, some rude guy.
So there's fast travel you can find. Once you synchronize an area, you can fast travel to that area. That's
some
just
imp-
like all the old games.
Yeah, and some important places also let you fast travel to.
So wait, I need to finish the quest, and they said he's busy.
Yeah, now he's not busy.
Thank you, friend. What did that fool want with you?
But yeah, I don't know. I think I was expecting something a little more drastic as far as changes are concerned. It still feels and plays very much like an Assassin's Creed game to me. I don't think. I think
I
if
don't
people.
have a problem with that because I
No,
don't play
I mean I'm
Assassin's
a fan
Creed.
of the series, but do you think people who have maybe burned out on the franchise will feel reinvigorated by this one though?
I think they will if they like The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Like it's very much The Witcher's Creed 3. Like it's. I mean, the combat is sort of dumbed down Dark Souls, so it's not like kind of the more twirly, spastic combat of The Witcher. But and those are photos that other players have taken, so you can heart them with the square button, and whoever gets the highest.
I gave him a broken heart.
No, a broken heart means you can unlike. See?
Got you.
So.
I don't like that one.
So whoever gets the highest one gets like a loot box or something at the end of the week or something, I think it is. So yeah, there's a landmark, you can fast travel to that as well as the viewpoint places. There's a lot of loading. The load times are long.
They
in
are
this game.
long. But look, it has like the old school like run through
Yeah.
the abyss loading screen.
And you'll even get a
you
kind
can
of
try out combat here as well.
You get kind of a longish load time even if you fly the bird far enough away from him, and when you go back to him, it'll kind of have to load where he is. I think the bird is a cool enough mechanic that I don't mind that too much, but
Yeah.
it is a notable load time.
I can't remember Assassin's Creed ever loading quickly.
That's true.
He just ran over that dude. Can I fight that guy? Maybe
If
show
you
up
want.
the combat?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you get close enough. See, this is why I don't like that there's no sprint button.
I shot him with an arrow and he just kept going.
He's aware. And then that you can see that the blue skull there. So that is a.
I might get my ass whooped here.
Oh yeah, now they're all on you.
Now I got like 5 guys on horseback trying to shoot me with arrows.
Yeah, you can see the.
Oh wow!
Above your life bar, you've got the little glowing thing. That's your adrenaline meter. So when that fills up from being attacked or attacking, you can then do your overkill move, which depends on what weapon you're using. Sometimes it's like a super kill. Sometimes it just powers you up for a time. So this is like a community thing. So this is like in Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, where this is where someone died, and you can go avenge them by killing guys, and you get like a little loot for it.
Get off your horses! I'm gonna die.
Yep.
I should run away. I just want to have like one-on-one combat.
Yeah,
with
well, you
someone
should
so I
go
can
do
show
a
off
quest
the
because
combat
then
engine.
you can show off combat if you go do like a side quest like that exclamation.
A lot of the side quests aren't combat though.
Well, I can tell you which one this is if we go and talk to the guy, whoever it is. Or just pick a question mark and go to it. There's almost always some kind of person there that you need to deal with.
Magi, help me, I will pay you.
What do you need?
This
Last
is,
night, my
I
dear
think this is
husband
the guy
Claudius
who's
took a
drunk
boat out
with
to see the ruins
crocodiles?
across the lake. He has not
As in
returned.
he ate too much crocodile.
No, he's drunk and he's on a rock being attacked by crocodiles and you have to go get him.
You have to go kill the
I will
crocodiles.
seek
I think
you out.
so. I think
be
that's who
quick.
this is. I don't quite
will await you
remember.
here.
This is hours and hours and hours. Yes, yeah.
Let's go check out the blacksmith before, and we'll call the demo after that. Just want to show off what
Blacksmith's
you can
kind
do.
of behind you now.
Oh, you're right. I always think that sword icon
Right.
is the blacksmith.
Well, because it's a needle.
Right.
When I first went there, I'm like, how come you're not selling me swords? And I was like, oh, I get you sell clothes. It's a needle and thread.
It looks like a sword though, like a cutlass. All right, so you can buy new gear at the blacksmith. It's kind of expensive, I think, at least based upon where I am with my cash.
Yeah,
I haven't really bought anything.
The cash flows more readily as you move on. I do really like that you can pay here to upgrade any weapon you have or shield you have to your current level. So I have a purple curved sword which has this bleed effect that basically it takes like a third of an enemy's life off through bleeding over the course of like 20 seconds, and I love it. And I've just it cost 750 gold or 750 drachma to upgrade it, and I've just kept upgrade. I'm continuing to keep.
So you
that
feel like
weapon
it's
with me.
been worth it to upgrade the existing
If
gear?
you find a piece of gear that you really love, if you like how it plays, if you like the effects it has, absolutely, I would say it's more than worth it to do that.
Okay.
You're right, it is pricey. I mean, it's like $750 to upgrade a purple weapon, and it's like 3,000 something to upgrade the gold weapons.
I haven't got that much money total in my time I played.
I have that much, but I haven't found a gold weapon that I find worth
These cat mummies are
yeah.
not a statuette.
What's this guy with like the ISIS symbol?
This is your friend in the temple mentioned that there's like some kind of fake cat mummies going around, and so like you have
fake what?
fake cat mummy. Cat mummies were a big sacrificial thing in ancient Egypt, and so you could buy them in the marketplace to use them as a sacrifice, like kind of an offering to the gods.
Got ya.
And so these guys are selling bad fake mummy. Basically, they're sawdust is the idea. And so the Eye of Ra that's happening over these merchants is you have to kind of so you talk to the right guy first, but if you talk to some of the others, like there's an investigation bar that fills up and eventually tells you which one to talk to. And so now the end of that quest is you have to go talk to that guy and meet him at night. And you may not have the ability to wait till night. Yeah, unlocked. Yeah, that's an actual skill.
That's something that you actually choose from
Yeah.
a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to pass time. Yeah, I saw that, and I didn't choose it yet.
Another Witcher ability.
Yeah. Stables. What can you do there? Can
You buy new mounts.
So you can. What are they better than the camel you start
Yeah,
with?
there's rarity levels. Horses are faster, and the other funny thing about them is they all have different like armor and different like decorations and stuff. But they all have like descriptions, and most of the descriptions are really sad. Like they're like, this horse was abandoned in the desert, but now he feels okay because someone's taking care of him. Maybe you should take care of him. Kind of. I'm just like, wow,
They try to
weird.
guilt you into it.
Sorta, and like, but they can be pricey. But I do tend to find I prefer the horses. They're faster so far.
Yeah, I can't think of any advantage of having a camel over a
Well,
horse.
it's a camel.
Right.
It's setting appropriate.
They'll never
I guess.
get thirsty.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
If there's a specific advantage to camels, I have not found it yet. Other
All right.
than the fact that if you like camels, here's your game.
The only one you're ever going to get. All right, we'll call the demo there. But I really like that segment. Like, I like being able to actually drive the game as we talk about it, and then kind of actually steer it in a direction to give the viewers more information.
And we'll get better at it. I think we wandered a bit.
Yeah.
Here and there, but like I think it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I had fun with
I think it's a good way to change it up other than just talking in B-roll.
Yep. So, Matt, Would you recommend people buy this? There's so many good games that came out just this week. There's so many more good ones to come.
Yes, I will. If
you're going to get your money's worth.
Absolutely. If you're an Assassin's Creed fan, except you wish it was a little more like The Witcher, here you go. I mean, and also, look, if you like the setting delivers. Setting delivers in a way that an Assassin's Creed hasn't delivered in a long time.
I love...
Probably not since Black Flag.
I love the tourism, the historical tourism of it, but so far I feel like the game is a little dull and drab. I haven't really met any characters that I really resonated with so far.
Well, you haven't met his wife yet.
Okay.
Who is really cool.
Whose wife? His wife?
His wife. Yeah. So you'll run into her soon. She's actually the one that gives you the hidden blade.
Oh, okay.
Because it's your kid that you're avenging, basically.
Right.
And
you're seeing some combat now, by the way, in the B-roll that we've recorded already.
And you will, as you kind of are able to do more things, and as sort of the conspiracy starts to unfold, there's more of interest going on. But it is a slow burn, that is for sure.
I don't know. My initial impressions of this are not great. I'm having fun with it, but I can see already, like, a game we're going to talk about here in a little bit, I would much rather play it than this. I probably will come back to this later to play more of it, but the setting, the characters, the story just hasn't really grabbed me so far.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. This game has grabbed me from the outset, and it's exactly what I like to play. Like, kind of that exploration, sort of give me a world to run around in and see things and mess around with stuff. And I think it does that a little better than the most recent Assassin's Creeds. It feels less...
I'd agree with that.
It feels less constricted. And I don't just mean in terms of letting you go where you want. I mean in terms of having stuff to play with. Whereas, like, you could kind of see... You could see the lines between things more in the previous games, and I think they managed to blend this one a lot better. It feels a little more organic. You're still kind of going through a lot of the motions, but like it scratches that I wish I could play The Witcher 3 again for the first time itch, in terms of exploring the world, finding the question mark locations, completing what I need to do there. It's actually become a bit of a problem because I do that enough that then I'll go do like a quest and it'll be like, go kill the people at this fort, and I'll get there and I've killed them all already. And I'm like, I'll just rub the feather on that guy. And I like loot stuff, and I enjoy that. And it's nice that there's no loot box stuff in here except for in-game. There's no out of game currency for it, so there's no kind of like incentive to do that.
So you can see the parry that I was talking about.
Yeah. And like they're doing the thing that like Horizon did, which I like, because I do like opening random boxes. It's like a treasure chest, like that.
Yeah.
And so the way that this is, there's a kid who sells, who like kind of is like sort of the online-y merchant, I guess, where he's also he's the same color as that online quest to revenge the other player, and he will give you a daily quest that usually gives you really good loot. Like if you want to get some yellow weapons, that the kid with pops up as the blue camel icon, he gives you a daily quest, and usually that gives you a really good piece of loot appropriate for your level. So he sells the loot boxes for 3,000 gold, which I kind of dig that because in these games I always end up with millions of gold that I don't use, and being able to use that to sort of throw it at these boxes that might give me a better thing, a better piece of loot without having to go through some crazy quests, is kind of a cool way to spend my extra money in that, because that's always a problem in these games where you play and level up and grind as much as you do, is you end up with way more in-game currency than you could ever use for anything. And I think that's kind of Horizon does that too. I think that's kind of a cool way to let me spend my extra money.
I think what I would say about Assassin's Creed Origins is wait. There are so many big games coming out over the next 60 days. It could ultimately end up being that, yes, you should absolutely buy this, but I would wait and see how these other games turn out, because this isn't a game to me that when I play it, I'm just immediately, everyone should play this, everyone needs to buy this. To me, it's a wait and see. It could ultimately be that when it comes time to make your Christmas list or your holidays list, you put this on it. But I just think that there's too many other opportunities to spend your money maybe a little more wisely coming up the next couple months, and I just think for me, it's a tough sell right now. So, look, if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, I would say go buy it immediately.
Yeah, I am one. And
if you haven't burned out on it already and you want more.
See, if I could only have one game that came out today, it's this one.
Wow. Wow.
See, I don't think that's much of a wow, really, because I'm a big fan of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the setting.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of the game we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
Or the series,
Which
the
we'll get to.
basic series. But it's like, this is my favorite of the 3 games that came out today.
Wow. There you go. That's a pretty
And I put a pretty even amount of time in. I mean, I guess I put less time into Wolfenstein. I've only put about 3 hours into Wolfenstein, but I put about between 6 and 10 on both of these before I really kind of decided like how I feel about each one. And this one is the one I played the most voluntarily.
Okay. All right.
We did get these early, of course. We should note. So it's been
sure.
more than today.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't play 30
that means
hours
you did
of
not
game.
sleep last night.
I didn't play 30 hours of game since 9 p.m. last night.
Although I will say, I have not slept much in like 3 or 4 days because I was behind the 8 ball on all these games and knew I had to play them, and I've just been like rushing like all of them. So
yeah, I actually got pretty lucky that this hit at one of the local stores on like Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I had some time to put into it.
Dive into it. All right, it's time to move on. It's time for another Patreon reward. This is for the GameFace guest, and essentially what this reward is that you would have the ability, if you were chosen randomly, to either record a rant and we would run it on the show, or we would bring you in via Skype and we would actually have a conversation with Matt, myself, and the patron. However, the patron who was chosen this month is shy and did not want to pre-record anything and did not want to come on camera. So instead, he or she, I'm not even sure which, has decided to ask Matt and I a question. And here it is. Bring it up, Sam. So this is from Cubes to Camel. Shane and Matt.
Here's our camel fan.
There it is.
There we go. I knew you were out there.
Shane and Matt, what games do you love that nobody else seems to understand? For instance, I'm a big fan of Battleborn. I would consider it my game of the year for 2016.
Wow.
So Matt, what's your thought on that?
I don't know. Why don't you go first? Because I haven't seen this question yet, so I got to think.
So I have a twist on this.
Okay.
And it may not make sense to some people, but it makes perfect sense to me because of the circles that I run in and the people who have generally watched the content that I've created, watch me on podcasts, and the series, and I don't even really care for it all that much anymore, but once upon a time was Call of Duty. I have caught through the years so much crap for liking Call of Duty. Still to this day, like I don't even really care about the series that much anymore. But a lot of people are like rediscovering me right now. They're like, oh my God, Shane's still alive or whatever. They started watching the show on YouTube, and like people are still writing in the comments, oh, Shane's a COD fanboy. And people never could understand why I enjoyed Call of Duty. And back when I worked at GT, people, like the otaku folks, always gave me crap for liking Call of Duty. I couldn't never say anything good about it without people accusing me of being a fanboy. And I, back then, before I kind of burned out on it, and I still play it and enjoy it, but I don't stick with it like all year like I used to. But back then, like people couldn't understand why I enjoyed Call of Duty so much. And I tried to explain it that it was like my quick fix. It's the game that I played when I had 15 minutes here, an hour there, or late at night when I'm really exhausted and just want to kind of turn my mind off. It seemed to fit that bill perfectly for me, and that's why I enjoyed it for so long. Eventually, I did burn out on it. The last couple Call of Duties, I played the campaign, I played the zombies, and then I ended up playing multiplayer for like a week and a half before I finally really gave up and didn't play it anymore. So that is a game that I have enjoyed, that at least all the people around me, like the rest of the editorial team at GT, would always argue against me when I would talk highly of Call of Duty. They'd be like, really? You're playing that again? Blah, blah, blah. And so it's kind of been this point of contention throughout my career that I am a hardcore gamer who likes Call of Duty. I feel like a lot of people like to throw the casual label on the people who like Call of Duty. And I think I'm pretty far from a casual gamer, and I, through the years, have really enjoyed the Call of Duty franchise. So, I don't know. I did not enjoy the Call of Duty World War II beta, really at all. So, we'll see. That's coming out real soon, too, by the way.
Like next week.
Yeah, next week. In fact, I should be getting review code for that soon. But, yeah, that is probably the one series that I enjoyed a lot more than my peers, than the people who are around me.
Well, I guess one way or the other, this is going to be a Sega game.
Because
as a Sega fan.
Yeah.
And I think I'll probably just go with Virtua Fighter, because I feel like Virtua Fighter is sort of the black sheep.
No, that's a good one. That's a good pick.
Of the fighting games in America.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a big deal in Japan.
Is huge, yeah.
But I spent a lot of time in the 90s in the arcades with like everyone's like, no, Tekken, 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 and I hate Tekken, and I just find Tekken completely blech. And Virtua Fighter is exactly the kind of thing I like, and that was always my favorite. So I've spent a lot of time in my life evangelizing for Virtua Fighter, and sometimes my friends were very nice about it. Like when Virtua Fighter 3 came out on Dreamcast, I had 2 or 3 friends who actually learned how to play Virtua Fighter just so I'd have somebody to play with.
The problem with Virtua Fighter is that it's so different from any other fighting game. Like, your skills in one fighting game don't carry over to Virtua Fighter at all. You basically have to throw it all out and just start building from scratch.
Learn how each character works and how each character works against each other character. And the matchups are very important.
And it's hard to convince people to play it because it's not a flashy game.
No, and so, it's kind of a job.
Yeah.
Like it's like
it's really that intense.
Like it's a whole separate hobby almost learning how to play that series. And I mean I love it to death. But it's like it's the one and I go
it's probably my favorite fighting franchise at this point.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out how much you like it after our our fantasy game.
Is that going to be my punishment? You're going to beat me at Virtua Fighter?
No, I think it's going to be a long series of different fighting games.
Okay.
Like we'll go half hour each kind of thing for like all day.
Fair enough. All right.
And we'll see. We'll keep a running tally of how many you win.
How many matches I win. If I win any.
Rounds.
Rounds, I may just go for rounds.
We'll I want to see if we can hook a Dreamcast up to this
that would
setup,
be cool.
Because a lot of my old fighting games are on Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I have a box that converts it to HDMI, so maybe it will work.
Okay.
We can test it.
That sounds like fun.
But I think that's my plan for the because the only way I could have possibly lost to you in the game draft is if Mario had gotten less than a 4 average on Metacritic.
That
has not happened. It turns out.
Yeah, I could have told you that, but
so I think just a marathon, just pounding you repeatedly in the ground.
All right, that's fair enough. It's better than playing Bloodborne.
You will probably die less in this one than on Bloodborne.
Maybe. It would be close. That might be an interesting experiment, ultimately.
But
I hear you. That's a good pick. Virtua Fighter's a really good pick.
Yeah, Virtua Fighter's kind of the one that's hard
so long.
And it's hard to explain to other people.
And I've tried to convince people to play it, and, like, nobody will. Like, they'll just look at it and be like, that looks boring. And it's like, well, it looks boring, but once you get into the strategy of it, it's the best. Mm-hmm. And it's always been I've always tried to be an evangelist for that series, and it just never works. And I think maybe part of it is you kind of have to go to Japan to get it. When the last Virtua Fighter came out, you go to the arcades there. It was literally, of all the cabinets, it was probably 70% of all the cabinets in there.
Yeah, it helps to see it there, I think. And because I've been a fan since 1 back in the day. But seeing, because 4 was hot at the time when we were first going to Japan, and seeing it there and how lively the scene was. And
get my butt handed to me over and over again in the arcade.
The same guy playing Wolf the whole time.
I won one match there, and I celebrated, even though the guy may have been the worst player in the arcade.
It got to the point where I would practice Virtua Fighter 4 before we went to Japan.
That's funny.
Because I knew I was going to need a refresher.
Yeah, for sure.
No, so that would be my pick. That's the game I've felt probably the most alone on the most often.
And I think maybe even going back a little farther than that, I've talked about this game a bunch of times on GameFace, Tribes. That was another game that I really loved. I thought it was better than every other shooter out there, and I could never convince people to play it. They would try it, and it was really hard. It's kind of like Virtua Fighter. Mm-hmm. It took a very specific skill to be good at it. And I only ever got a couple friends over the hump to where they're like, oh my God, you're right. But I tried with just dozens of people to get them into it. And
I'd always heard about it. I just didn't. I didn't have a gaming PC at the time that Tribes was.
And there was a barrier of entry too. You had to have at the time an expensive video card, at least a Voodoo 2 to run it. And
so decent connection.
Yeah, and then so when Halo comes out, everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is so awesome!" I'm like, "I've been doing this crap for 10 years. Where you been?"
They don't even have jetpacks.
Yeah, exactly. But it was kind of similar with the vehicle combat and everything. So that's another game that I've been a big fan of that most people just couldn't give 2 squirts of whatever over. So there you go. Thank you, Cubes to Camel, for your patronage. I wish you were a little more outgoing and you could have delivered a rant or something like that. But we'll be randomly selecting somebody for next month. Actually, probably in the next couple of weeks, we'll be picking somebody else. So hopefully the next person will step up and join the show, or at least record a rant that we can run, and then we can kind of riff off of it afterwards.
Well, it's your fault for picking a camel.
All right, we're going to move on. We're going to talk next about South Park: The Fractured But Whole. This is it's so funny, just letting that just roll off the tongue. This is a game we would have talked about last week, but we didn't have a show, so we're a little late on this. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. I will say, of any game that we're talking about this week, this is probably the game I'm most disappointed in. It's exactly like the first game, but it's not funny.
Yep, I would agree with that.
I
haven't laughed at anything.
Yeah. No, that's not true. I did chuckle a little bit. The funniest parts of the game.
Actually, I laughed out loud at one thing, and I can't remember what it was. But it was like 14 hours in.
The funniest parts of the game are just going into like the random stores and like seeing like products on the shelves and what they've called them, or going to like the VD clinic and like stuff like that's kind of funny.
Yeah, but that's like kind of the part of the problem I have with it is like it's the same town.
Yeah.
And I know there's not a choice there because it's South Park, but like you've seen all these places already in the Stick of Truth. And obviously there's different ways to get in and different ways to open garage doors or whatever, but it's like it's the same thing. And like part of what a sequel should do, in my opinion, is expand and take you somewhere new, and South Park literally can't do that because that's the nature of the show.
Because here's the thing with this series, like for me the concern with the first game and with this one, because the first one I thought was funny. Like I thought the first one was laughed out loud a ton of times at the first one. Before playing this game, I never dreamed the problem would be that it's not funny. That, to me, should be the easy part with this game. The hard part should be getting the RPG systems balanced and making the combat fun. Instead, it's the comedy. And here's the thing. The whole Coon and Friends thing is just not funny. I have not liked it in the show. Once they went down that story arc on the show, I stopped watching the show. Right now, I have 12 episodes of South Park on my DVR. Because I got so turned off by the show, by the whole Coon and Friends thing, that I just quit watching and never went back to watch it. So, to me, that whole story arc is not good and not funny.
How much of that has... Because I saw the Coon and Friends thing years ago. It was like a rerun or something.
It keeps like
Does it keep popping up?
Popping
it's like
back
a thing
up.
they go back to?
Right. It's like callbacks and stuff like that here.
Because I think I saw the original one. It was almost accidental. It was like, I haven't watched South Park in a while. And I turned it on. It was that two-parter where they reveal who Mysterion is and all that stuff. I
never liked any of those. They were never funny. And this game is not funny. There's not, like, even the attacks, it's like, dude, blowing farts as an attack, that's not funny anymore. It's like...
And that's all your character can do.
You're right. That's pretty much the whole game. Some farts can blow out 3 spaces wide. And one thing I will say is that the combat's pretty good. Like, there's some strategy involved. It's not especially hard. Like, I don't know if I've even lost a battle yet at this point.
I haven't lost a battle. I have lost some characters. But, like, everything resets after the fight, so it doesn't really matter.
And all the health goes back up to full.
There's no mana. There's no like, magic points.
It's a grid-based strategy RPG. You can see that there's a grid there, and each attack has... Some of them will blow for an entire column. Some will attack for an entire row. Some are like spread attacks. And there's buffs and healing and all that kind of stuff. All with a South Park twist on it.
You can multi-class and mix and match stuff, and there's stuff there.
And that big yellow meter at the top, as the enemies attack you, basically you just hit like X as quickly as they attack you, and then that meter will go up, and then you can pull off your ultimate.
And it gives you a little bit of health back.
Yeah. And then you can pull off your ultimates. The ultimates are okay.
Yeah.
Again, for South Park, like, they should be so much better.
Well, also, I feel like I don't think this game does as good a job, because the first game had a really solid handle on the idea that they were kids playing, and their imaginations made it real.
Right.
And that conceit doesn't carry over in this game quite as well.
There's some of that.
There's some of it, but some of the ultimates are clearly like, like they're like in the first game where they like use a lighter to like be their fireball attack.
Yeah.
And in this one, sometimes it's something like that, and sometimes
it's just
like Kyle actually takes off an orbit and fires lasers down from his kite.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to sort of like there's that conceit in the show, I think, a lot, and in the first game where like. You can tell that, like, it's still all in their head. They're still kind of playing.
They're kids. It's their imagination. Yeah.
And that they kind of gave up halfway on that in this.
Yeah.
And I don't think that what they gain from not doing that makes up for what they lose by not doing it. If that makes any sense.
And the other thing I would say too is that like the combat never really evolves.
No, they keep multi-classing you, but all that means is you have a couple different attacks you can slot into you have 4 attacks, including your ultimate. So you basically limited to 3 attacks.
Yep.
And I don't find it to be enough to really work up a decent bit of strategy on
With
that.
the first game, the combat didn't involve much either. But the scenarios and the writing and the comedy were good enough that you wanted to keep playing to see what happened next. And it's not up to that level in this game. And so I've just found like my interest level waning. I had started playing this before. I had to go back to Philadelphia. And I came back and picked it up and played a little more, and I'm done. Like I'm at probably like the 7 or 8 hour mark, and I just really don't have any interest to keep playing it.
I mean, I'll probably try to finish it.
It's only like 15 hours. I mean, according to most reports.
I'm up there.
Oh, really?
Like 12, 13 hours doing, because I'm doing all the side quests and all the little things.
Wait, Sam just laughed at something. So Sam laughed at the fart attack.
There's your target
maybe
audience.
We're crazy. That's funny. So he thought that was funny.
The other thing that bugs me about this game's combat is it's very centered around status effects.
Oh yeah, big time.
That I generally find that annoying.
It's so annoying. Yeah, I hate status effects in RPGs. They're the worst. Getting poisoned or getting burned in any RPG.
And I mean, it's really easy to use it to your advantage too. It's not like it's like oh the computer abuses it. It's like that's how you play it. But I don't find it to be a very interesting form of strategy, I guess I would say.
I think the reviews for this game were too high too. I mean,
I didn't really
they
look at the
weren't that
reviews.
great. They're like it's sitting at like a 7 on Metacritic. I wouldn't even recommend this to South Park fans. That's the crazy part.
I felt like the first one really kind of brought something new to the table in terms of taking the license and putting it in this setting. And this one just sort of seems to go through the motions again. And I don't know, maybe that's a factor of the loss of Obsidian.
And a lot of it feels old. Like having to do like QuickTime events all the time in the game. It's just like, really? This is 2017. I'm doing QuickTime events all the time? Like, it just... Yeah, I can see now why the game was delayed so many times.
Mm-hmm. It feels like they still never quite found it.
Yeah. Well, the one guy who used to be on our site, Vin, worked on it. And every once in a while, he would send me like these cryptic messages about the game. I can talk about it now. I couldn't talk about it back then. But he would send me like, oh, things aren't going good, and it's going to be delayed again, and then it would get delayed. And yeah, now I can kind of see where... I will say one thing, though. The visuals are better, and the increased power helps this game a lot, because South Park, it's like, if you watch the show, everything may appear really flat, but if you have like a really clear signal and a great TV, you can see that everything is kind of textured.
Yeah.
And this game does that. Like, you can see the textures on the flat sort of colors. So it is more accurate in selfies. We forgot to bring up how selfies are a big deal in this, which seems so 2014 or something.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that going on in this game. Same with really all the Kuhn and Friends stuff. A lot, the satire happening of superhero movies is very much rooted in kind of the state of where things were in the marketing campaign run up to Civil War.
Yeah.
And it already feels outdated.
Yeah.
Especially because there's so much stuff that's kind of going on about like superhero movies. Isn't that already over or whatever? And it's like a year and a half later, it's like, no. As a matter of fact, we're about to have a big one next week, and then Justice League comes out, and then Black Panther comes out. I mean,
right. Black Panther's looking pretty good.
The superhero thing is not slowing down anytime soon.
No.
And then Avengers Infinity War wraps up a whole bunch of stuff in May. I mean, it feels weirdly out of touch for South Park, which is...
usually it's the one breaking the boundaries.
Yeah, one of that show's saving graces, whether you love it or hate it, is that they make it in 5 or 6 days, and it's always current.
Very timely.
And this isn't.
Nope.
In a way, and they picked that. They picked their battle on that they were going to parody the cinematic universe thing in a way that doesn't really feel current anymore. Whereas like Stick of Truth was more a parody of fantasy RPGs.
Yeah.
Which is timeless.
It is, and I don't even really get that satire from this game anyway.
No.
It's very limited as far as the amount of jokes that they
take. It doesn't feel like they have anything to say about it.
No.
Right? They're just using it as trapping.
Nothing clever. Yeah, it's like they came up with the premise and like, well, it takes 3 years to make a game. We're going to stick
like,
with
he's dressed as a superhero character now. It's like, there's not a lot happening.
I was really disappointed in this game. Really, really disappointed.
Yeah. I don't hate it, but like, it's not as funny.
I don't like it.
And I feel like there's stuff I'm missing because I don't watch the show. So like,
I doubt it though.
Is Morgan Freeman really selling tacos in South Park now? Is that a running gag
Like
in the
I said,
show,
there's
or?
12 episodes of this show sitting on my DVR unwatched right now. I've bailed on the TV show, and
Like,
maybe people who stay current think this is funny.
Yes, I mean, I haven't watched it in a very long time. Like, I don't know, so Stan isn't friends with them anymore. Like, he doesn't hang out with them anymore, and they've replaced him with other characters or something. Like,
that's a bad move.
the social dynamic. I mean, I don't know. I've heard that, like, because like Stan doesn't seem to like them anymore, and like you see, and I don't know if that's part of the superhero setting or if like he does really refuse to hang around with Cartman anymore, which like would probably be the smartest thing anybody in that town has done in 20 years. But like,
yeah, even Cartman isn't funny in this. I mean, Cartman's not funny.
no,
That's a problem.
Cartman's usually, I mean, the quote unquote humor of Cartman usually comes from him doing the horribly politically incorrect, like horrible thing, and he doesn't even really do that much in this. At least in the first game, he was a horrible person in the first. He wasn't really he wasn't doing kind of the anti-PC like, oh, let's offend people thing, but he was being a terrible person to his friends.
Yep.
And like that was kind of the incentive to switch sides in that game when the option came along. In this, like, it feels like everybody's just kind of an equal jerk to each other.
Yep.
And like, there's no dynamic there, and it just feels weirdly neutral for South Park. You know what I mean?
This game also screams $30 in 2 months. It just does. It came out at a really bad time with all the great games. If this game had come out
when
again,
it was supposed to.
Yeah. I think it would have a lot more impact than it does now. This game is essentially sent out to die. South Park fans are probably going to ask for it for Christmas, but it's not in a good place to be released, and it's not a particularly great game.
Yeah,
and it does not transcend South Park fans.
No, I think really you're in this if you haven't played the first game, probably, because at least then it's not quite as much repetition for you.
Yeah.
And because the realization of the town in the game was one of the big interesting things about the first game for me, was like, because they'd never done that before. You know, like even Matt and Trey say we had to figure out novelty. We had to figure out where everything was. We'd never done that before, and that was kind of cool. But basically, if you haven't played the first game and you are a giant fan of the Coon and Friends storylines, like this, you should pick this one up, or put it on your Christmas list. But otherwise, even then, I feel you might be disappointed by the fact that it doesn't. For better or worse, it doesn't have the teeth that South Park you expect from South Park. Yep,
it just doesn't have it. It falls short for
me. I mean, even if you just think South Park is like gratuitously offensive with no, and hides behind the satire idea, which I think is a fair criticism once in a while, it doesn't even have that.
No, it doesn't do that.
Like, it's not like you're sitting here saying, "Oh, I'm so offended," and there's no reason for me to be offended because they don't have anything to say. They don't even do that. They're not even crossing the line.
They really don't.
They're just sort of there.
Nope. It's just limp. That's really the best way to describe it.
Yeah. So. I mean, I guess it's not that surprising because of how long it took, and it's not Obsidian. But like, it feels like
the writing though. The writing. How can they screw that up?
Writing that game this size is a big job. I mean,
it is, but they've had plenty of time.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
And they were obviously hands-on with this. Like,
but I don't know the first thing about how that all works. So, and of course, this game was also being done. If you watch, what was that guy's podcast? Bill Simmons? I might be getting that wrong.
The sports guy?
Yeah, he had a podcast where he interviewed the two of them. And
that's who it is.
Yeah, and they talked about, last season where they tried to do a season-long story, but it all hinged on Hillary winning the election, and she lost, and they're like, we have to make a new episode in 24 hours. And like their whole plan for that kind of unraveled.
Right.
And so it feels like maybe part of this was like they had one of the toughest seasons they've ever had to make during the development of this game.
Yeah, that could be.
Like, who knows if you don't have time to kind of workshop it or tweak it in the end the way they needed to. Like, I don't know. I don't. Maybe we'll never know. But it definitely feels like it lacks that something
that they usually always provide.
Yeah.
Period. So.
But then you could say the same about the show recently, I guess.
Yeah. I haven't been a fan of it for like 2 seasons now, and I used to be a huge fan. Yeah. Watched it the night it came out.
The one thing I really do like in the game, and I did like in the recent shows, is the member berries. I think are very funny.
Yeah,
because that is again, South Park doesn't hit the bullseye too often for me in the last 10, 15 years, but like the member berries are one of them. The member berries are great because it's just like, it's so dumb. Like, there's nothing else to it. And the other time I think, but like South Park's at its best when it's doing something that like I think one of their best gags ever was when they ruled that you could say shit on prime time.
I mean, they pushed the envelope for television.
But it's like, but the best thing about that is not that they have the counter and they do, the characters say shit like 380 times in the episode. The best part of that show is not that they say shit 380 times and abuse this new quote-unquote privilege, is that the rule is you can use it as an oath, but you can't use it to describe the substance. And at the very end of the show, they say, oh, hey, don't step in that pile of shit, and they have to bleep shit. And that's the joke. Like, that's when the satire works, because, like, you've heard this word 380 times, but you can't hear it this time.
This way. Yeah.
That's when they're at their best, is when they do stuff like that.
There's nothing like that in this game.
No, there's nothing
nowhere
like that.
near as clever as that in this game.
We're not firing on all 6 South Park cylinders on this one.
Definitely not. All right, let's move along. This is another topic that we probably should have been able to cover last week, but didn't because we were out. All right, actually, did it happen?
Yeah, it did happen before.
Yeah.
It was like Wednesday last week or something, I think.
So we're still going to talk about it because this is a huge freaking deal. So Visceral's Star Wars game.
Deal.
What'd you say?
I think it's a huge freaking deal.
Yeah, it is.
I wanted to play this game.
I think we both did.
Yeah.
So Visceral's Star Wars game has essentially been canceled. Today, Jason Schreier from Kotaku published an expose a little bit about it. Did you get to read it?
Yeah, I read some of it. I read the one guy who's basically saying like he's surprised. He thinks that maybe the plug should have been pulled sooner because it just wasn't coming together somehow. And there's a lot of fingers being pointed around. Like there's people saying it was EA, and people saying it was Amy Hennig, and people saying it was the people working on it, and people saying it was the people with Visceral, and it was like no one seems to quite have a handle on exactly why this was going wrong. But it seems like everyone seems to agree that it was a very ambitious project that just was not gelling in some way.
It's really disappointing.
Yeah.
I was pretty much devastated by this news and completely shocked. I mean, Amy Hennig has ran teams making games like this for like 2 decades. So it's hard. Look, we weren't there, but it's hard for me to accept that somehow she was the one culpable for the problems here.
Well, I wonder if there's, and their response and their kind of what they're doing with it, like, I mean, not doing it because it's clearly a different project. Basically, the statement they put out about moving it to EA Vancouver makes it sound very much like they decided they want Destiny 2 with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is a very different project from what was happening here. And my question would be, are the people saying that Hennig was a problem on it really saying that she wasn't allowing EA to just make it into a MMO light loot box fest? Like that she wasn't allowing elements that are in Battlefront 2 to be in her game. Was that part of the problem?
But isn't that kind of what every publisher is asking now?
Well, certainly what EA is asking.
Which is ultimately, I mean, I didn't want to just really kind of hammer down on just the Visceral Star Wars game because, again, it's a bit of an old story. But I think the bigger story here is that this is kind of where the industry is headed right now, is that these publishers are like, look, if we're going to spend $100 and some million to make a game, it can't be something that people play for 15 hours and then put down and never go back to again. And I think, ironically and amazingly, just today, we
got 3 of those
incredible single-player games were released in one day today. And it'll be interesting to see how those games sell. And if ultimately...
And to be fair, I mean, it wasn't incredible, but the game we just talked about, South Park, single-player only.
Yeah.
No weird microtransactions beyond Season Pass, which everything has, put out by Ubisoft. The poster doesn't want to hear this. The poster was also looking forward to the Star Wars game. The set's falling apart. You can't see it yet. But it's new.
Yeah, but so what do you think this says? So this story prompted a lot of prominent gaming executives to come out in the last 5 days and make a statement. So the head of Xbox Publishing came out and said, single-player games are always going to be around, but it's something that we have to seriously evaluate going forward. It wasn't exactly a glowing recommendation of the future of the single-player only video game.
Yeah, well, it seems like there will probably be a season pass component just about everything from now on. Maybe that's what it was always kind of the multiplayer horned into, what were clearly single-player campaigns going back as far as the Xbox 360 days, and maybe even really before that. You'd have things where it's like, the campaign is pretty good, and there was some kind of weird rudimentary multiplayer game tacked on that you sort of figured it's like, oh, I guess they just didn't want people to sell it back. Because back then the idea was you don't want people to sell it back because then they'll sell it back and somebody will buy it used, and the publisher doesn't get any money for that.
Right.
Nowadays, I'm not really sure what that loop is. I guess it's more they want you to buy it at full price, or they want you to buy it and then spend extra money. They assume you won't buy it at full price, so they want you to spend the extra money on the season pass and the microtransactions to make up for that.
A lot of the games, though, that are kind of use that revenue model, they don't really ever drop in price.
True.
I mean, most of them maintain that kind of Nintendo, like, full price for a long time before they ever drop.
I mean, I think within a year you can get stuff pretty cheap, unless it's Nintendo or Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like, Blizzard doesn't do that. I mean, Blizzard has no reason. Activision, actually, in general, does not drop their prices on things.
No,
I mean, if you see a Call of Duty game for less than $30, it came out a decade ago.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, it's like Black Ops 1.
Yeah, like Black Ops 2 is still like $40 or something
it's
like that.
crazy. It really is.
I mean, look, they're even still charging $50 for that stupid Fall Cybertron game that came out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just Activision doesn't drop prices. Nintendo doesn't drop prices. So what are you going to do?
So what do you think is the future of the single-player game, Matt? Do you think that the 10 to 15-hour single-player game is something we're going to see that doesn't have any multiplayer? Because the weird thing here is that Amy Hennig worked on Uncharted, which did have multiplayer components for the last several entries. Why could they not? Maybe that is the right answer, though. Maybe making a Destiny 2 set in Star Wars is the right call, because with Destiny 2, I thought the campaign wasn't as good as a Naughty Dog campaign, but it was still pretty good. And I played it all the way through and finished it. Never felt like I was wasting my time or grinding my gears. Is that the way forward? And it kind of incorporate those MMO elements into the campaign?
I don't know if it's the way forward, but it is something we're going to see a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Because Destiny 2 already apparently the top-selling game of the year. So clearly there's a hunger for that idea. I think if you put lightsabers
And not only
in
that, after the first one.
Right.
After a lot of people said they were burned by the first game, were unhappy, started online petitions, all this other garbage, they got right back in line for the second
But it's
pile.
also, I don't think the problem here is that they want to make a Destiny game with lightsabers. I'm kind of on board for that.
Yeah.
The problem is that they killed Amy Hennig's Star Wars Uncharted game for it.
Yeah.
And clearly, Sony still finds it worth it to fund things like that. Even there is a multiplayer component, obviously, to Naughty Dog's games now, but Naughty Dog isn't running around doing the microtransaction loot box thing yet. So, while there is the multiplayer component to those games, I don't feel like there's a lot of predatory, marketing happening there. EA, on the other hand, seems to think that is their bread and butter from here on out. And I think once it comes time to talk about Battlefront 2, the loot box thing is going to heat up again, in the podcast rounds, because the loot boxes in that game directly impact your character's performance. It's not it's not aesthetic.
Yeah.
And on some level, I'm not surprised EA is the one testing the water on that one. You also have to remember that EA is coming off of the absolute disaster of Titanfall 2, which tried to do the traditional free update content and sort of kind of basically Overwatch idea. Like you could buy the pilot and skin and stuff like that separately. All cosmetic stuff, but you got the updates, the content updates and the maps and everything for free. And clearly, I don't think that Titanfall didn't sell well because of that. I think there were a lot of other factors, and blaming that on that is probably a bad idea. But I think if you're just looking at a spreadsheet, that's what it looks like to you.
Yeah.
So.
And unfortunately, a lot of publishers make decisions looking at spreadsheets.
Right.
And
EA,
data, let's be honest, data is the best way to make decisions generally.
And let's not forget, look at what EA doesn't really put much out now.
Yeah.
And remember they also got burned on Mirror's Edge last year.
Yeah. But we could have told them that they were going to get burned on that one.
But it's just...
But you're right, and the problem is, and it's not just EA, a lot of publishers are that way. They put out 3 or 4 games a year, and when you only put out that many games, it's a huge bet. And if that bet doesn't pay off, your whole quarter is kind of screwed. And I wish I could see the game that they were making.
Yeah, well, I feel like we will see some stuff as we move forward. Like this screams, "Oops, I leaked my concept art from the artists." And
or
stuff
"Oops, here's some alpha footage that we had kicking around the studio."
Well, clearly they had something because they showed 3 seconds at E3 2 years ago.
Well, don't forget there was Star Wars 1313.
Mm-hmm.
That game looked amazing, and it got canned. What is it with like these amazing-looking Star Wars single-player games that they never make it out?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
Star Wars has been in a dark time for its video games for a very long time. I mean, remember how LucasArts got shut down, basically?
Yeah.
They cut Force Unleashed in half, fired everybody, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
Force Unleashed itself was...
crap.
But it was the first big-budget Star Wars game in years. I mean, what was the last one before that? Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Or there was... Star Wars games went dormant for a long time after the prequels. Even before the prequels ended. I mean, Revenge of the Sith had game tie-ins from the Collective and stuff. But,
remember Pod Racer?
Yeah. But like Star Wars basically vanished for a while from the video game scene until Force Unleashed came back, and then LucasArts got cut down. 1313 got killed. And I mean, look, EA's had the Star Wars license for how many years now? And they've managed to they're about to put out their second game.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Makes you wonder about the Motive Studios game and what that's going to become.
I mean, look, the idea of a Destiny-style Star Wars game is an interesting one to me, but not at the cost of Amy Hennig's game.
I agree.
An Amy Hennig-directed Star Wars game would be on my top 3 things I would ever want to play. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, isn't Destiny already like Star Wars? I mean,
yeah, a little bit.
I mean, we're both real close to that IP, and so I would never say that it's the same thing, but it's like...
It's a space opera.
It was basically another developer who didn't have the Star Wars license trying to make a Star Wars MMO shooter.
A little bit, yeah.
So I feel like we kind of are getting that already.
I mean, I'm lying if I say I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll buy it. I mean, I enjoy Destiny 2.
Destiny 2 with the blaster sound effects, I might pay you $5 for that DLC right there.
Seriously.
And you'd make money off that because the blaster sound effects are public domain.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to pay
you're
anything.
right. They're old enough that they're public domain now.
Well, Ben Burt never trademarked. Never
really?
Them. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's why in the 80s...
You learned something.
That's why in 80s cartoons you hear Star Wars sound effects all the time because there's no legal claim on them.
I learned something today.
Yeah. Watch the old Transformers cartoons. They use the Millennium Falcon like bursts, like thruster sound for like the jets all the time.
Huh. So we're kind of talking about like what's going to happen in the single player game, but hasn't some of it kind of already happened?
Yeah, I mean it's in process.
They're kind of increasingly rare at this point. Like any game that you buy that is just a campaign.
Well, I mean this is the wrong week to say that, but any other time this year you would, I think.
Well, this is Q4. Yeah, I mean this is when you're going to get games like this. But you start looking back through the last 8 months of the year, there haven't been a lot of single-player games that are just single-player and that ultimately sold really well. Persona 5, I
think Shadow War probably did okay.
Yeah. But even that has kind of multiplayer-ish stuff in it.
Well, I don't count. I mean, the mingle-player thing
That's kind of counting like Dark Souls. Like, Dark Souls is like a... There are some that are still...
I would say Dark Souls is a much more legit multiplayer game than Shadow War. Like, you can never see another person in Shadow of War. Like, you just play against their castles, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Shadow of War is about as multiplayer as launch No Man's Sky was. You know? You can never see another person in that game. You can just see what they've left. And you couldn't even do that in No Man's Sky, actually. But, like, No Man's Sky is an interesting example of, like, a purely single-player game that turned out to be a single-player game, but everybody wanted to be multiplayer.
Do you think it's going to be a case where the indies are the ones who end up carrying the torch?
Somewhat.
That seems to be what kind of happens in the industry anymore, is once the big budget publishers, the AAA folks, decide something's not worth pursuing anymore, it always seems like the little guys end up picking up the football and running with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, like, until Samus Returns, that was basically the state of Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
Like, indie games were making those instead.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly there was a market, there were people wanted it, they were, tearing it up on Kickstarter, doing really well on Steam, but like the big guys weren't interested in making it until Nintendo seemed to, I don't know, wake up or something.
And Nintendo saw some other kid make a really good version of Metroid 2.
Is that enough time from there on to have made
I think
Returns?
so. With Nintendo's resources, for sure. I think.
Maybe.
I mean, that project was kicking around for a while before it came out, and Nintendo banned it or whatever.
Did you see the one of the guys on? We can get to that in the next topic, actually.
Yeah.
But that's another Metroid tidbit for this week.
That's a good segue. Let's move on to the next topic. While I was gone, apparently all hell broke loose on the internet.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I was completely disconnected for like 4 days. I get back, and one of the first texts I get when I get back is from you, saying like NeoGAF is over.
NeoGAF has collapsed in on itself.
It's imploded.
Like a flan in a cupboard.
And
I usually I phrase my like, "Hey, this news is crazy" text to Shane with like, with the tone or the inflection that I assume you know about it already.
Yeah.
And this is like the first time in years you didn't know about it already.
Yeah, I mean, because running SIFTD, you know about everything that's going on, stuff you probably don't even want to know about. And this I had no clue about whatsoever. Do you want to give a brief synopsis of what happened?
Basically, some of it's still fuzzy because I haven't found like a bunch of consistent reports. But basically, the guy who owns NeoGAF and has always owned NeoGAF, goes by Evil Lore, was called out by a woman as having basically it was part of that kind of hashtag Me Too thing about sexual assault. And she said that while they were in New Orleans traveling together, she was sick in the shower from being too drunk, and he jumped in naked without being invited or asking about it. And she was like, "What the hell?" And he was just like, "Oh," and like kind of like it was just sort of like a really awkward moment. And like it's like one of those things like if you're gonna jump naked in the shower with someone you don't have an existing sexual relationship with, ask.
Yeah.
Ask first. But basically, this was bubbling up, and instead of like addressing it, I guess there was like he was just trying to shut everything down about it, and people were harassing and attacking the mods on NeoGAF about it. And finally, on Friday, I think it was, or the day before, like the mods basically left. Like the core mod staff just up and quit, including people who'd been on the site for years and years and years. It was, and so the whole site was just unmoderated. It was chaos, and people were just running in and everything. And finally, he shut the whole thing down and brought it back a couple days, like on Monday, I think, with no off-topic section, so you weren't allowed.
Why? Because is that what started the whole?
No, the idea was that you're not allowed to talk politics anymore. And instead of addressing the idea that he has had a by his own blogging admissions, a sketchy history of how he treats women in certain situations. There's been some ass grabbing. There's been stuff like that, and
that he's admitted to.
Oh yeah, that he kind of bragged about it, basically, about how like I grabbed her ass to show that I wasn't a pushover or whatever, and it was just like, okay, bro. And then when people would call him out for that, he'd ban them. And so it basically, like, the moderation staff on NeoGAF was actually pretty on the ball for the most part in terms of following the rules, but he sometimes had a tendency to, do not question the Lord and Master kind of thing. And so really a lot of the vitriol on this didn't necessarily come, it did come from the fact that there was a culture on GAF that just did not accept kind of sexual harassment as a thing, and the fact that the person who owned it was doing stuff like that, and that the ad revenue from visiting the site was giving him money, a lot of people left the site
giving him
for
a
that.
lot of money.
Yeah, he's doing all right, I think. So was it something like 7 million unique page views a day? It's height or something?
The last time the information leaked out, it was years ago, he was making $600,000 a year off NeoGAF.
Not bad.
To do nothing.
Yeah, to just have it.
To do nothing.
He claimed a few years ago that he was offered $10 million for it, which doesn't seem like a crazy amount of money considering the traffic.
No, that's what you should be offered.
Yeah.
That's typically how it works. If you do the math and he was making $500,000 a year, that's the kind of offer you would get to sell it.
So basically that whole kind of side of things evacuated, and it only got worse when he decided to shut off topic down. Basically, his solution was not to address the issue. It was to say, you guys can't talk about it anymore.
Wasn't his big problem that he didn't address it for several days?
Yeah. And because that was why the mods were starting to get harassed.
That seems to be where he really screwed up.
Yeah, I think...
Because he left his mods out to dry.
Yeah, it's and in part, it's like, the element of... GAF had a culture of being hardline, anti-sexual harassment, no tolerance on that, and there's people that don't like that. There's people
that wanted sexually harassed.
Look, man, right now, because a lot of the people that were advocates of that kind of thing and advocates of treating minorities with respect and women with respect have left and started a new site. And so now there's a lot of the content on GAF right now, because they have reopened Off Topic and everything because of outcry over it, and are slowly restoring old threads, and because they lost a lot of their community threads and like things that had existed for years. Like threads had been active for years with hundreds of thousands of posts.
Right.
But there's a lot of people right now that are sort of posting, kind of dancing the jig about how, haha, we can be mean to minorities and women again.
We got rid
of the SJWs basically.
That's hilarious. I don't really have any sympathy for him, to be perfectly honest with you.
No, I don't. I feel like
I cannot.
The things he's accused of, like, if those are obviously, like, I guess she could be lying. I don't think she is, because why would she? But like,
even if she is, that's completely irrelevant.
Right. But there's also a body of work to it, where like even if she is lying, and I don't think she is, there's enough evidence of how he conducts himself in that subject matter, that he's probably someone I don't want in my kitchen.
It's not even just that. I mean, that bothers me that he has a history of doing this stuff. But the truth of the matter is that I have never, ever had a good interaction with that guy.
You do have a history with him.
But I don't, though. It's like I literally have gone to NeoGAF 2 days probably in the last 4 years.
But he always seems to show up when you post.
Oh, I know. I don't get it, dude. And he comes in and just says like the most mean, insensitive crap. It's like, I don't know what it is, but every time I've ever had an interaction with that guy, it's been the worst. He has been like the biggest jerk, the most conceited. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, dude, what are you so conceited over? You're using a free message board like app. You struck gold. Appreciate it. Like, instead of being this smug, like, oh, I did something great, you didn't do anything, dude. You took free message boards and put them someplace, and Sam Kennedy is the one that actually got everybody to come there, and then he didn't want to do it anymore, and you ended up reaping the rewards of it. Like, I have no sympathy for that guy. Like, I don't even really know much about this story. I just feel like, and I don't even believe in karma, I think this is one of those cases where karma finally came a-calling.
Well, I think it's just more like you do that long enough, someone's going to call you out on it.
Right.
And
it has been shocking, by the way, to see this whole Me Too thing. Holy cow.
I don't find it shocking at all.
I mean, look, I knew it was bad, but not that bad.
It's that bad.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy, dude. It's like a point where if you were ever a supervisor and you didn't sexually harass people, and you're a male, you are in like the vast minority, it appears.
You might not be wrong.
Holy cow. It's really been mind-blowing to see.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. Like, I had no idea.
Not remotely limited to Hollywood. I mean, it comes out of the Weinstein thing, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Hollywood has a much larger culture of just don't say anything about it than a lot of other industries, because there's that element of, you'll never work in this town again, that kind of idea, which is clearly in play when you're dealing with people as powerful as Harvey Weinstein, and was by people who tell the story. And you've still got people that are kind of, reticently, trying to act like they didn't know about it. And then like there's other people who are like the guy who wrote a bunch of stuff for him, the screenwriter who I can't remember, who's basically like everyone knew. Everyone fucking knew.
Well, everyone knew about Weinstein, yeah.
Yeah, and like, and even Quentin Tarantino, I think, had a decent response where he's like, "Yeah, I didn't do anything. I screwed up. I screwed it up. I shouldn't.
I'm a knob." Yeah.
Kevin Smith, had a pretty good response to it, but it's like, it's everywhere, and that was kind of where the Me Too thing came from.
It's crazy.
And
it really is.
Yeah,
like my Facebook feed, I was like, wow.
Oh,
like every woman I know has been sexually harassed. Like everyone. It's really mind-blowing. But anyway, back onto the topic of games and NeoGAF. It is interesting to think about. You look at something like NeoGAF and you think it's just invincible.
Yeah, you're like monolithic.
You're like, it's going to be there forever. There's no stopping it. There's no way anybody could come in and do anything to topple it. And
boom.
Just like that.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's still there. If you go there now, both gaming and Off Topic are open. The community sections are open. Stuff is slowly being restored. There's a thread, basically there's a thread if you have an old off-topic thread that you want to be brought back and you can remember the exact title of it.
Oh, wow.
They can resurrect it.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of people don't remember the exact title of things, so it's an ongoing process. It really, I think it got as bad as it did because he just handled it the
poorly.
Exact wrong way.
Yeah.
The absolutely worst imaginable way.
I've never seen him handle anything in the right way.
I don't know.
To be
I
perfectly honest
met
with
him
you.
once at a party at E3, and I wish I had a story to tell you, but I don't really remember anything I talked to him about. It was just another guy I met.
I think I would have a much more positive impression of that guy if he didn't take all the money he made and kept it. He doesn't invest any of that money he makes back into NeoGAF. It is still that same crappy bulletin board forum. It still goes down when there's big news or at E3. It's like, dude, you're making... I mean...
It went down like a rock. For like 12 hours, it was not accessible.
And then it's ironic. And then, when they talk about SIFTD on there, and like all the gaffers come after me and saying, oh, you did this wrong. I'm like, dude, you're on NeoGAF. And you're complaining about some little dinky thing on my freaking website? Like, what? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. So... It's interesting. I wonder, too, if like the toxic people on GAF are the ones who are still there.
A lot of them.
Because the thing is that GAF is actually full of awesome people.
Yeah, well, a lot of those people have left.
They're just, but they're just like lurkers or whatever. They
don't also,
post.
there's a lot of people a lot of the posters that have been there for a long time and like kind of create the content, like the really good official topics for the games and stuff, or Suni Legend, who does the best GIFs. Probably he's the GIF whisperer, basically.
The GIF giver.
The GIFer. During E3, he does all those crazy huge GIFs and stuff. He's the one who did that amazing one from one of the Sony press conferences years ago, where it was from a Mission Impossible, and it was like Steve Ballmer and Don Matrick shooting Kaz Hirai. And then, like, Ballmer leans down and pulls the fake mask off, and he's accidentally shot Don Matrick. And, like, and then it just cuts to Tom Cruise with pulling off the thing, and it's Kaz Hirai's face underneath, and, like, the Sony logo comes up, and it's just, like, not canceled. Yeah. And it was I mean, it's like, incredible work, and, like, that the person who did that is gone now.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, that kind of thing is not going to be felt immediately, but, like, the culture there is definitely going to change, and there are people that are going to consider that good because they want something that is less heavily moderated and less about not being a dick to each other, which has been a big... Which really...
To me is so ironic, because it seems like everybody there is dicks to other people already.
Somewhat.
I can't imagine what it would be like now.
Well, I think it's just going to get worse. There is a rule... there has been a rule on GAF...
I don't know how that's possible.
Well, there's been a rule on GAF for a long time about you can't directly insult someone in a response to them. And
what?
I got banned once for that, for insulting, I can't remember. It's the guy who's obsessed with James Cameron, and I got a little nasty about it.
I can't remember a time where my name appeared on GAF where I was not insulted by somebody. And usually by like 5 or 6 of them. And it's the same 5 or 6 guys, but still, anytime my name is brought up there, here they come, ding, ding, ding. And I know who they are because I've blacklisted them or whatever, so their posts always appear empty. And so it'll be empty posts, and then someone reply to them and say, bro, like, what the hell? And it's the same guys, like, every freaking time. They never get banned.
Yeah, well, you got to report them.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't care enough to report them.
Well, that's the key. I got reported.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Did you deserve it?
No.
No?
I was right. But I mean, I deserved it.
Well, there's a difference between being right and deserving.
I deserved it in the sense that it was against the TOS. Like, I knew it was coming.
So you did deserve it.
It was one of those things where I'm just like, all right, I'll take the heat on that one in exchange for being able to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've obviously had a more positive experience there than I think you have. Although mainly I just read stuff.
Well, back in the day, GAF was fine. Whenever I was just a gamer and I was
also
a young journalist.
Before SIFTD, it was the fastest way to get news.
Yeah.
I mean, they're real quick.
Yeah,
I mean, that's another question: is that going to be still true?
Right.
Are the people that do those posts and get that stuff there fast, are they gone now? Like, we don't know yet.
Well, it's interesting. It's like, I saw a lot of people, I did read up like a little bit about it, and I saw some people were saying, look, we want to go someplace where there's like good moderation and people aren't allowed to be jerks. And I'm like, well, We've been doing this for like 2.5 years. That was our mantra when we started the whole website. They're like, well, let's go start some new thing. And I'm like, bro, there's already something built. Like, I don't get it. But, and one of the people who has jumped over to build that new website is someone who has worked for SIFTD in the past, and someone who recently reached out to us and asked if we had any work. Anyway, life is cray.
Do you really want that kind of exodus, though?
What do you mean?
Like thousands of refugees coming in to post on the boards as basic members?
Yeah, if they're good people, for sure. And it sounds like they are the good people from GAF that are leaving.
Yeah, in theory, yeah.
I mean, our moderators are used to doing type moderation and everything. It'd be great. Like,
I think the exodus creating...
And I will put the money back in the website.
Right. Well, I think the exodus creating the new forum website is just in the GAF DNA, though. Because that's where NeoGAF comes from, is the Gaming Age forum shutting down and sort of moving that community to this new place. And
Right.
I think that was just an obvious choice for them when the exodus here happened.
Here's the big secret about SIFTD. SIFTD is just a really fancy forum. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
When we curate something, we're just creating a topic for people to discuss. But whatever. All right. Let's move on to our last topic.
Oh, and actually, I didn't bring up the thing I mentioned before. One of the guys who left, one of the long-standing posters that left, basically posted his last thread was like, I've given you hints to like Nintendo stuff like in threads for years, and almost no one ever figures out. So here's the last few things I know that's about to happen. And one of the things he said was Metroid Prime 4 has a subtitle that everyone will be like, a subtitle you know.
Interesting.
And the first footage and reveal of it will be in the January Direct.
Wow.
And so my guess is it's Metroid Prime 4 Dread.
That makes too much sense. Yep. That's been banging around for, 10 years?
For a long
Dread?
time, yeah.
That's a Matt Casamassina rumor.
Yeah. That was like early
That
DS
is the
days.
old school
Yeah.
stuff right there. That's crazy.
Because that was like basically the rumored follow-up to Fusion.
Yeah.
And then Zero
it was,
Mission
yeah.
happened.
Yeah, here's a fun fact. We almost did not even create a forum for SIFTD because I looked at it, I'm like, it's redundant. Like, why do we need a forum when that's pretty much what the whole website is a self sort of sorting forum for users. So let's move on to the last, and in my opinion, the biggest and best topic of episode 107, Super Mario Odyssey.
Okay.
So, before we started the show today, Matt shared with me that he is not enthused about Super Mario Odyssey.
Not on the level of some of the other stuff I'm playing right now. I do like it a lot, and I think it has the most visual imagination of a Mario game since Galaxy, for sure. And it does, the thing I like the most about Mario Odyssey is it does a bunch of stuff and has a bunch of environments and a bunch of scenarios that are distinctly not Mario-esque, but somehow fit. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of stuff in here you've never seen in a Mario game, but at no point does it feel like you're not playing a Mario game. You know, like
Well, I think they accomplished that very easily. It's by keeping the same controls.
Well, yes, but I mean in terms of like how suddenly there's a jungle and there's a prehistoric forest with a dinosaur that they put a lot of effort into the character model of, and you only use for about 5 seconds, which I thought was odd. A city area, like just stuff that doesn't really exist in Mario until now, and it all works. It all fits. Like it expands the world of Mario in a way that I really didn't necessarily think Mario would ever do, and I think that's kind of neat.
I've only played a few hours of this, and let me tell you, right now, my right eye is watering like crazy. It will not stop, and the reason my right eye is watering like crazy is because of this game.
Did Mario poke you?
No, I did not go to sleep last night because I played this video game. I literally, I got back, I've been rushing through all the games to talk about in today's show, and I finally got this one. Nintendo, here's another thing I should mention, by the way. So, influencers, YouTubers, totally screwed me.
Game changers.
Yeah, the game changers. So, apparently, some influencer, YouTuber, whatever, leaked Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga's ROM onto the Pirate Bay websites or whatever, and dipshit didn't realize that Nintendo fingerprints the code and all those things, and so they instantly knew who it was. So Nintendo.
So instead of just not sending him another one,
I did not get the game until
they didn't send anyone
9
except
p.m. on the nose last night. I get the email with the code. And they did send it to other people, though.
They sent it to the big outlets, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't send it to like the smaller guys like us. So I didn't get it till 9 o'clock last night. I was trucking through these other games, and getting ready for today and working on all the changes for GameFace. Finally wrapped all that stuff up at like 1 in the morning, and I'm like, all right, I'll play this for an hour. And just so I have like a frame of reference for the show tomorrow. And originally we were going to do the show at 1 o'clock. You had a conflict. We couldn't do it then. And so I'm like, I need at least an hour with this game. I started playing. I could not stop, dude. I've only played 3 hours. I freaking love this game. I absolutely love Super Mario Odyssey. From what I've experienced so far, I love everything about it. I love Cappy. I love how you have the fundamentals, all the controls and the moves that you've had since Super Mario 64. But then Cappy, it's so dumb. First of all, I don't like the concept of just throw a cap at something and suddenly you can control it. But whatever, that's just a means to an awesome end. And that awesome end is just giving you the ability to play as almost anything. And the one thing that Nintendo is so good at is just nailing the feel of controlling something, whatever it is. And like everything that I've taken control of with that stupid-ass cap, I have absolutely had a blast controlling. And it just opens up the game unlike any other 3D Mario ever. Just giving him the ability to just turn anything into a playable character. It reminds me a little bit of, do you remember the N64 game Space Station Silicon Valley? Yeah. Concept the same, execution nowhere near as good as this. But I played Space Station Silicon Valley. That was a DMA game, right?
Yep.
Early Rockstar.
That was like their last thing before
they changed.
3.
And I liked the concept of that game so much that I ended up playing it all the way through. The mechanics weren't great, but...
And you couldn't complete it.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, it was like broken.
It was a bug.
It was broken. I actually have a ROM of that game, like one of those crazy N64 ROMs that are like that long. I don't know how I ended up with it, but somehow I did. But anyway, this game is like Space Station Silicon Valley's like wet dream. It lets you play as so many different things, and it all feels so good and so right. All the levels are balanced to make use of it. I just feel like the flexibility that dumb cap has given to this game just changes everything while still giving you those fundamentals. And to me, 3D Mario's controls are the best 3D controls in the world. Like, I just never feel more connected to a character through a controller than I do when I'm playing a 3D Mario game. And it's there. It took me 10 or 15 minutes of fiddling around with the controls to get to just nail it and just feel like I was playing Super Mario 64 all over again. I'm dead tired right now. My eyes watering. And when this show is over, I cannot wait to go home to play this game.
I'm not quite as enthused by it. I think it's really good. It is not grabbing me the way Zelda did.
Wow. See, I like this way more than Zelda already.
I think this is not on the same level as Zelda for me. Zelda is... And I'm more of an open world exploration person.
That makes sense, yeah.
I like, kind of the sword combat thing. I mean, Zelda is more my thing. My favorite Nintendo franchises are Zelda and Metroid. Like, head and shoulders above everything. I'm not a huge Mario fan. I find Mario mostly just sort of weird and creepy, which doesn't seem to be...
I would agree with that.
But it doesn't seem to be... Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't seem to be like a thing that is a very controversial statement, because if you look at Mario fan art, it's weird and creepy. Like, clearly this is something...
the whole concept of it is weird.
Well, clearly something that the fans of Mario love, and I just find it kind of off-putting. The thing about this game to me is that the cap thing is a cool mechanic that I don't think belongs in a Mario game. I don't want to play as a dinosaur. I don't want to play as a weird, growy thing that flips over things. I want to play as Mario. Yeah. In fact, my favorite part of the game so far is, it was a ways in, but there's a point at which the ship, your little hat ship, crashes, and Cappy gets kidnapped, and you have to Mario platform without the Cap abilities to get up and rescue him. And I was like, this is great.
That was like your favorite part.
I'm playing Mario. In the same way that Super Mario Sunshine, my favorite parts were the bits where you just played the pure Mario platformer with no FLUDD.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want out of a Mario game, because that's what Mario 64 is. It's also more what Mario Galaxy is.
Yeah.
I feel Mario Galaxy is a pure Mario game in terms of what I want from a Mario game.
This game apparently is gigantic.
Oh, it's huge.
So
Yeah,
I think by the end, you're going to get your fill of just the Mario stuff.
somewhat, but it's just like right now, I mean, I got about 100 moons right now.
Out of 900.
I'm 900 something. More than 900, I think.
Now, you were talking before the show, and this is something I completely agree with, that you feel like there are so many moons that it lessens the reward.
Yes.
The sense of satisfaction that you get when you were getting stars or other objects in prior Mario games.
Like I love,
and I agree with that. Like,
Mario 64 and those games, I love the whole.
Hey Sam, let's switch over to.
You gotta find your way to. You get little hints or whatever. You gotta get to the stars. Usually, basically, that's like a level within a level, right? And in this game, the moons are freaking everywhere. Like you're constantly picking them up. Like, and
well, I booted this up. It's so funny. Before you showed up, I booted this up to get everything set up.
Yeah, there's one right there.
Where?
Straight ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I booted the game up and literally turned the camera around, and there was one just sitting on top of a rock.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I'm like, that's not...
And it's like not... There's the satisfaction of finding them is just not there, and there's nothing else to find is the problem I have with that. Is like... Although I do like searching out the purple coins. Like each kingdom has purple coin currency that can only be used there to buy special outfits and stuff. And the outfits are great. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff you can dress Mario up in, which is not really something I ever thought I wanted from Mario, but apparently it was. I would like to
get up there?
I would like to put Mario in different outfits apparently. Around the other side. Oh, you mean up
How do I get
there?
that moon?
You probably need to use the dinosaur.
But I can't activate him yet.
You can cap the chain chomp and swing him into that rock there, into the fossil rock that can be destroyed. But it's just like there's another level where I found a little kind of little secret place. There you go, there's a pipe. Little secret place in the back, and there's a square with like a golden square with a keyhole. And I had to find the key, so I had to get one of the creatures and use their ability to find the key. I find the key, and the keyhole opens, and it's a moon. And I'm like, I just got a moon by butt-stomping a mound.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's no variation in what I work for to get, and it just feels very... I don't know. I always love kind of the shine get triumph of finding the stars and stuff, and I feel like they've sort of cheapened it in this.
Well, it feels like maybe the moon should have been some other sort of collectible, and then still maybe have the stars or something where you actually feel like you did something to get
well, it's
them.
like when you beat bosses and stuff, you get multi-moons or whatever, where it's like 3 in a pack or whatever.
Yeah,
that feels good. Like that feels like a good accomplishment to me. Like that feels like when you got a star in the old games. And the boss battles are really good. Those feel good.
I've only fought 3 bosses, and they were all so easy.
They're real easy, but they feel good. You know, like the landing on their heads has a good kind of, in the same way that Mario Galaxy did when you fought bosses. I just don't, like...
What do I have to do to wake up the dinosaur?
Throw your cap at him.
That's it?
Have you played this game?
I just control him. I just started.
You throw the cap at everything. Like that's all. There's even sections where the piranha plants spit venom now that stains the ground with purple, and you throw the cap at them and it cleans the venom like a Splatoon thing, basically. Like somebody at Nintendo, Miyamoto must be really in love with the idea of cleaning up goo. I don't know where that came.
I don't want to go there. It feels good to be able to kill the chomps.
Yeah, and I do like the mustache on the dinosaur.
Wait.
He's got a mustache.
That's funny. I don't know. As I've said a million times on this show, I'm a gameplay first guy, and the gameplay in this game just feels so freaking good.
Yeah, I'm not even totally on board with that. Like, I think the waggle is too heavy on this for me. Like, you have to wiggle the controller to throw the hat up and to throw it down and to throw it in the circular move. There's no just button option for that. I feel a little constrained.
And you can turn off the motion controls.
Yeah, I don't know if that gives you the button options for the moves you would lose, though.
Wait. Let's see. It doesn't say what it does.
No, they don't tell you anything here.
I haven't really been using motion controls.
Well, later on, you have to start doing it more. So I don't know. Can you still do the wiggle, the spin move? These I like a lot too. Well, you can't do it in the 2D version. These I like a lot, the 2D stuff.
I already finished this actually. I need to find the last moon to activate that device.
Oh, there's more than enough moons. They're all over the place.
Well, I just picked up 2 of them.
Yeah.
And it didn't do anything.
So here's a good place to use that spin move. I don't know if you still have it with the motion control.
With the flowers?
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, you're using the up and down one. So spin it, shake it sideways. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
So the motion controls are still there. So what do you turn off?
I don't know what I turned off. Maybe it's just like motion controlled aiming or something?
Maybe? I haven't run into that if it is. I don't know. I'm certainly not bagging on it, but like it's not the oh my god, this is what I've been waiting for this series to do that Zelda was. And maybe that's not fair because Mario didn't need to be reinvented, whereas Zelda kind of did. But there you are.
I don't know. It's pretty different, man. Like.
Yeah, but I don't find the different to be a huge positive in this case. Like, I mean, this is just, like, kind of not... It's very rare, I guess, in some ways.
You mean, like, the developer rare?
Yeah. Like the kind of taking control of other things and switching characters constantly.
Yeah, it's a little Banjo-ish. You take control of, like, a refrigerator or whatever.
I think right now the main appeal of this game for me is...
so I like this because it's like play and pull.
Right.
You can actually hit, like, the angles.
Yeah, right now the main appeal of this for me is the environments. And, I mean, there's some ugly textures here and there, but, like, the environments are very different, and they're not just different because, like, oh, this one's green, this one's white. You are doing very different environmental things, even without the taking control of characters thing. The way you have to navigate...
See, here I have to, like, play a combo.
Yeah, the way you have to navigate
I missed it.
the worlds changes based on which environment you're in, and that's a really good way to approach it.
I just think what I've already seen from this game is just the creativity in it is already, like, bet more than any game I played this year. Everything is just like everything else. In this game, I've only played 3 hours of it, and I've already seen more ideas in like 3 hours unique ideas than I've seen in games I played for 40 hours this year.
I guess, but like I guess the thing that gets me is that despite those unique ideas, the end result of every unique idea is getting one of those stupid moons.
See, that is something that I feel like I have argued against for a long time with 3D platformers. People always call them like collectathons. They're like, but you're just getting bananas, or you're just getting this. It's like, I never really thought about what I got at the end. I thought about what I had to get to do to get there to get it. It's like, people are like, oh, you just get another feather. It's like, no, but look at what you did to get that feather. That's the difference to me.
I just think it's, at least right now, it may change because Mario games, certainly in the modern era, have a tendency to open up and get crazy difficult or crazy complex later. Right now, I feel like everything I do to get a moon is too simple and too quick.
I'm just at the beginning of the game, so everything is simple and
quick. Well, it doesn't really get any different even a few kingdoms in from here.
Really?
I don't find, with a few exceptions. I mean, the next kingdom or the kingdom after, I mean, without even trying, after about 20 minutes, I had like 30 moons. I mean, it was just they just fall into your lap, like, and there's no satisfaction from that. No,
I agree. I mean, it does mute the impact of getting a star or whatever.
And I think because I'm not as much of a Mario fan, if the gameplay, as you say, wasn't as tight and responsive, I would have quit by now.
Wow.
But it is fun to just move around in the game, like you say. So while I may not be kind of as enamored of it, it is fun enough to simply play from moment. I guess it's kind of the Destiny thing in reverse, where like the moment-to-moment gameplay is fun enough that I don't mind that I feel like a lot of what I'm doing is pointless. And it's not pointless because the moons get you to the next level, obviously. But it's
well, the point is having fun playing video games. That's the point.
Yeah, I have
at least for me, that's why I play games, to be moved by playing them. And I have fun playing Mario games, particularly 3D Mario games.
I'm having more fun exploring ancient Egypt right now. I guess that's really it's just what you want out of something, and that could be maybe because The Ancient Egypt exploration reminds me more of my other two favorite games in recent times, which is Horizon and Zelda.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just a run around and look at shit person, maybe, as opposed to you are a jump on things and control stuff person.
Yeah. Yeah, the controls in this series have always been top notch.
I will say that I would like nice print posters of some of the worlds in this game. Like, I mean, they're the kingdoms, they're not worlds. I'm thinking Mario Galaxy, but like just that kind of vista with the hill and the Triceratops statue on top of it. Like, it's beautiful. Like, they have some of the best environment ideas in this game that Nintendo's ever had, I think. And you haven't even seen many of them yet. I mean, the first few you've already seen because you've seen the marketing and you've seen the stuff. But there's people I know have gone on Blackout. I really haven't been paying a lot of attention, so really the only levels I'd seen were probably that one and the one you're about to go to, which is the desert one that they showed at E3.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty. Look,
the only thing I've noticed about this game, at least as far as the controls are concerned, is I've had problems being able to do the side flip, where you run one direction, hit back the other direction, and jump, and he does like that kind of almost like a cartwheel flip.
Yeah.
I've had problems pulling that off.
I've had sort of problems with that, but it's more because I think he needs to be going a certain speed, and I haven't quite figured out what that is yet.
That could be. Everything else, though, I managed to pick it up like right away and
well,
get
it's all
right
the
back to
same
it.
stuff, really, except for the spin thing. Like, I don't know what that's for yet, but you can make him spin by circling the L stick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he'll like kind of start spinning and put his arms out, and I don't actually know what that's for. If you look at basic actions, it shows it. The one where he's kind of got his hands out like a ballerina.
Yeah, I wonder what that's for.
I don't know. I think that might damage enemies. Maybe that hits people. I don't know.
They keep showing this action guide.
Yeah, they love the action guide.
It's like...
It's because they want to make sure, because it doesn't come with a manual.
Right.
So,
but it's so simple. It's like, and that's the other reason I like it. It's like they give you these very simple tools, but then they create the environments for you to make the most out of them.
oh, one other thing. I didn't bring this up during Fire Emblem. I forgot. That I think is great about this game is it feels like you're playing it on a cartridge, because you are. Fire Emblem Warriors has load time.
It does, you're right.
And I'm like, why is there load time on my cartridge?
I didn't even think about it, actually.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's weird.
This doesn't, though.
No, not at all. This game moves like a bat.
This is one of the ugliest levels that I've ever seen in video games, by the way. I've seen tons of footage of it from trailers and everything, and it is just not a pretty level.
I do like that the red sand, though. I just think the red sand is a nice touch. Maybe that's the No Man's Sky in me.
So what's the difference between the green moons and the yellow moons?
Nothing. It's just they're different colors and different levels.
Oh, so the moons are different colors in every level?
I don't know if they're different colors in every level, but I've seen green ones and pink ones and yellow ones and all over. They seem to have a different color on each level.
Gotcha.
Maybe they might repeat colors later, but I haven't seen a repeat color, I don't think.
Am I supposed to talk to that dude?
You can. He just tells you it's cold or something. There's your shop where you can buy your your Mexico accoutrement.
Yeah, costumes seem to be a big part of this game.
Oh, there's tons and tons of costumes in the game.
What's the point of them, though?
Well, each world seems to have a place where you can't get in a doorway unless you're dressed in local attire.
Oh, okay.
So the idea, and the costumes are bought by the local currency.
I have no money, none.
Yeah, so you have to get the local currency to buy that, and then the other side is regular coin stuff.
So that means I should have bought something at the prior world I was at?
No, there wasn't. I don't think you could access that yet.
You thought that dog in Wolfenstein looked bad. Look at that one.
Well, at least this one's wearing a hat.
Touche.
And this game will probably not make you shoot that one. I do like my favorite part of the. I mean, again, this is probably giving away my exploration fetish, but my favorite part of the game so far is finding the purple coins.
Because they're all tucked away.
Because they're all hidden and stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to figure. You see them, and the draw distance is fantastic, and you can see purple coins you don't have on the other side of the damn world.
Oh, that's good.
And you can, like, even when you're like flying around or like in various places, and you can see, oh, I need to get there, and then I can go over there and try to figure out. And don't forget, like, throw your cap at like the statues over there and stuff. Like the cap does stuff with every. Oh, you got to jump up and hit it on the top of the head, but you get some coins out of that.
Butt stomp it.
No, you got to cap it.
Seemed like I just threw a cap at it, didn't do anything.
Jump up and throw it.
So why does that make a difference?
Because you got to hit the horns on top of its head.
Oh. Yeah.
There's tons of stuff like that in the game. Throw your cap at
I mean, that's Mario. That's another thing I love. It's like when you mess around with stuff and just screw around, like, you get all these pleasant surprises.
Not so much on that one.
Nope. Nope, not at all.
And then there's stuff like, so the question mark block in the center up there, that's a coin block. Like, you know, where you jump in a lot. So throw the cap at it and hold the button once you're safe.
Okay.
And because if you throw it and hold the button, it stays in place for a bit. You can get like a ton of coins out of it.
This is really accurate.
That's very satisfying.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's the way I would describe this game in general. It's just satisfying. It just feels good.
Yeah, like moment to moment, definitely. And my problem is when I step back and think about what I'm doing, and I'm like, hey.
Well, yeah, it's Mario. It's stupid. It's like the whole concept of Mario is just completely absurd. But
yeah, it's just on here. Yeah, you've seen this part.
Can I take over a bill?
Yep.
Nice.
Of course you can.
I mean, it seems like you can take over pretty much anything in the game.
Yeah, I mean most major things you can do that.
That's pretty awesome. Just imagine the amount of work that went into that. But that's what I love about this series. It's like they respect the player's time. That's it. That's it. That is one of my biggest pet peeves about games is when they don't respect the player's time. That's why I don't like games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. They're like, oh, you got your whole life to try this 50 times. And I hate games where if you go all the way down and like some off the beaten path and there's like nothing there. It's like, I took the time to try to explore the world that you've created and you've given me no incentive to do it again. And that's what Mario games are great at. When you actually go off the beaten path or look for something, you always get something. And they kind of clue you in sometimes. They leave like a breadcrumb trail. And they tell you whether you should keep going based upon the rewards that you're getting a lot of times. See that? It's just everything about this game just feels so freaking good. Like I just want to jump on it again. Just the attention to detail and just the way they think about what the player is thinking while they're playing the game and what they're most likely to do and least likely to do. Like I just feel like this series just absolutely nails it. That was wrong.
Well, they didn't catch you on that one.
They did catch me. Those things came up and caught me.
You can butt stomp that thing. Oh, that's, yeah, you can get a little coin bonus by chaining the cacti. Oh, he's not wearing his captain's hat. Interesting.
Oh yeah, he changed outfits, huh?
Usually his outfit is, in the 2D thing, is the same as what he's wearing in 3D.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, there's a 2D version of every outfit in the game.
Oh wow.
It's, as far as I've seen at least.
So my only objective was to just get coins from this?
No, you gotta get up there on the left. Break the bricks on the left and hop up out.
See, that was pretty trippy. How it just went from 2D to 3D there. It's so slick. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's another nice visual touch is like when he takes hits from various things, he will retain a visual reminder of it. So like if you hadn't died there, if you just gotten hit once, he would be burned up from the explosion for a while. And I got hit with a porcupine thing and I had needles in my nose for like the next 10
Really?
minutes. Yeah.
I don't even know what happened there.
You sank. You have to keep jumping.
To keep from sinking into the... Well, there's no lives in this game, so who cares?
Yeah, you just lose.
And that is kind of one thing that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, you just lose 10 coins. That's
it's like, there's really no punishment for dying, so it's like, I don't even care. Maybe that was their point. Maybe they want people to just experiment and not care about whether they die or not.
You're the one who just slagged Dark Souls in comparison, so here's the anti-Dark Souls.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a happy medium, too. It's like...
Yeah,
you don't want to go all one way.
Considering what they're after with this game, it makes sense to ease up on that. I mean, the challenge is getting through the environments, not making sure you have enough. And also like in any Mario game of recent years, going back to Galaxy, like, did you ever run out of lives, or did you have dozens and dozens? Yeah,
by the end, I had like 300 lives.
Yeah,
or whatever.
So why not just cut out that middleman and let you play? I mean, I pretty much agree with that. Like, I see what you're saying, but I don't miss that in this. I don't think. Maybe it's because I'm just that casual.
I mean, I did have. Come on. I mean, it does kind of build tension, though.
Yeah, but like...
It's like, I don't feel like any tension playing it. Maybe that's good.
Oh,
like,
hey, look,
there's
you
just
broke
a
a
moon
thing.
in a box.
Just a moon in a box. At least you gotta go get it.
But see, that's what you're saying, though. It's like when you just give them away like that, whoa.
These are these things that kind of let you see more of the level and sort of see where you need to go.
Can I actually fly anywhere with them?
No, they're just sort of to get the lay of the land. And when you hit a point where you've gotten tons and tons of purple, you're looking for the last few purple coins or moons. These are very, very useful because I think they might actually improve the draw distance even. Like
how do I get out of it though?
R trigger, I think. Yeah, the R trigger is bail out of any capped possession. Also, I should add that you probably wanted to use the bullet bill for that. Just about the first time he possesses something in this game is really creepy. It's really scary. Like like Mario's soul basically gets sucked out of his body and he flies through a tunnel full of frog photographs and suddenly realizes he's another animal. Very weird.
Wait, you mean when you become the frog?
Yeah, the first time you become the frog.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
There was like the whole cutscene where he falls through this like LSD tube and like there's actual photos of frogs flying past you. And then he like looks down and realizes he's a frog and he's like, oh! And it's like, I'm like, oh good, a little body horror in the Mario game. That's what we're after.
This world seems pretty big.
Yeah, it's decent sized. Eventually you can like ride around on a thing that gets you places faster. Also, this is the first Mario game with fast travel, I believe.
There's fast travel?
You can fast travel to all those flags you're picking up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That comes in handy.
Yeah, well, the worlds are pretty big, and like it's way better than having to traverse this stuff over and over and over. And then, of course, you can also use it. I think they showed in the like the directs and stuff that you can ride the electrical lines.
Yeah, almost like you're
a spark of electricity, basically. I don't think you can do that right now here because the power lines are iced up.
Yeah, I tried to jump on one before and it wouldn't let me. I guess I have to go up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this feels pretty common 3D Mario. This doesn't feel all that out of the ordinary.
Somewhat. I mean, and right now they're kind of like, so you can do the platforming here, or you can just possess a bullet bill and fly over. So it's more about giving you options right now, and like this is also whoops.
Oh, bad.
But that's like good. Also, you can see there that's kind of really good like level design communication there. Oh, there's a moon.
There's really just a moon back here?
I think so.
Yep. That's like candy. I could probably wall jump up here too.
Yeah. Like so you've got those moving platforms that are like, okay, you can. Oh, there's a roof. There's a ceiling there.
Oh, that's dirty. They put a roof in there.
So there's like, that moving platform there where you're like, okay, you can jump across it, but then they've got those rings there to teach you that like, well, if you want these rings and these coins, you should possess that bullet bill.
Right, yeah.
So that's smart level design there.
I mean, these games are like that though, man. Like everything just is so thought out. It's like you don't even realize it at first. You start thinking about it, you're like, oh my god, like they put that there for an exact reason. It takes me a while to get used to being accurate with Cappy.
There is a God, I can't remember what it is now, but if you press a button, if you could see it in the action, whatever.
Maybe I shouldn't make fun of the whole action thing.
But if you throw it and you're not on target, you can hold like one of I think the trigger or something, and it'll auto curve it into the nearest target.
Oh, really?
I can't remember what the actual button is because I don't tend to use it.
So only
much.
some ice you can blow up.
Yeah, little ice you can blow up. Big ice, I guess not.
So Matt, if you're a Switch owner, I know you're not as keen on it as maybe some others, but do they buy it?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you like Mario or platformers or video games, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying it's not like my game of the year or anything. I'm not as enamored of it as
it's way too early for me to say
everyone else in the world, apparently. But it is pretty much exactly what I was expecting, and it is really good, and it's fun, and I will keep playing it. But I'm going to go back to Ancient Egypt pretty regularly, too. That's all I'm saying.
I have a feeling that I am going to be hopelessly hooked on this game for like the next
honestly, I'm having
many days.
I might be having a little more fun watching you play it than playing it myself.
Well, I say buy it.
Yeah, if you have a Switch, you should own this game. I think that's a very fair thing to say.
How about that first year for Switch, man?
Good luck in year 2.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo.
Holy cow.
Every once in a while, Nintendo, like every I don't know, 12 or 13 years, you get a Mario, Zelda, and a Metroid in 1 year, and it's a pretty great year.
No Metroid this year, but probably next year.
You got a Metroid this year.
Well, yeah, the 2D went on 3DS.
Man, I'll take what I can get.
Well, we get this. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is still coming out this year. That's a darn good year for first year for a console.
At this point, like, I'm willing to admit that is actually coming out this year.
Yeah. I think we have to give up that argument at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it was really just more skepticism to protect me.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't
want to get your hopes up. Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
It wasn't so much I don't trust Nintendo as much as like I don't want to have that heartbreak.
Right.
Because I'm looking forward to that game a lot, even though the children are not wearing pants.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thing is in JRPGs where everybody's got to wear belts and no pants, but that's where we are today.
Well, I think you can agree, though, if you own a Switch, you should buy this game.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who just own a Switch or maybe had a Wii U.
I mean, unless you, like, hate Mario?
Who hates Mario? Somebody.
I'm sure someone out there hates Mario.
There's probably a lot of people that do. Because they just hate Nintendo or whatever.
Would I buy a Switch for this? But like, I feel like you got Zelda and you got this. Like,
that's a pretty good
get off your ass
starting lineup. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, Zelda's going to run you 60, 70 hours or more if you really milk it. This game probably around the same.
I was at 130 at Zelda when
Wow.
I mean, I collected like 500 of the damn Korok seeds, but like I explored the hell out of that world.
I stopped at like 50 hours or something like that.
I would have kept playing if it hadn't been so tied in with the death of my cat.
That'll do it.
But the DLC, I hope, is going to bring me back to that game and give me more of a fresh start on it.
Just announced today, the DLC is still coming this year.
Yeah.
So it's not delayed or anything. That could end up being one of the best Q4 sellers.
Yeah,
Zelda's DLC.
You're right.
Without a doubt. This, too, is going to be really good seller, I think.
Well, did you see the pictures of, I think Wario 64 put them up where he's like, I wonder which game people are going to buy at midnight tonight. And it was like the carts at Best Buy. And it was like there was a shelf full of Assassin's Creed, and it was a shelf half full of Wolfensteins for both systems. Uh-huh. And then there was shelf, separate cart full of Mario. And the other cart, all the shelves were like labeled PlayStation, but they were still full of Mario because they had too many Marios to put on one cart.
Well, I've only played the first couple hours of this game, and I'm already completely and utterly hooked. I can't wait to go home where I can.
Oh wait, before we stop, can you bring the
gameplay back up?
Go back in the game and bring up the map, which I think is the minus button. These are great. This is one thing. All the maps are travel brochures for the location.
Look at them. That's funny.
And you can scroll around them and look at them and stuff. These are all really cool. Like, there's a lot of like actual like lore in them. It's really neat.
Mario lore.
Yeah.
That is one thing, obviously, with Mario games. If you're into stories, this is not the place to get.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much Nintendo in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like like Aonuma's been running rogue in the Zelda world for years, trying to make a timeline happen. But like, they're like you say, they're gameplay first, and everything else can come second.
This series in particular,
and Mario
they really don't
specifically.
Care. Story, and this is so dumb. It's like they're above the skies, above Princess Peach, and it's like Bowser wants to marry Peach. Like what?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
It's best not to think about that one too hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially it's like also like the bad guys you're running, the early bosses. They're his wedding planners.
Yeah.
And they're all rabbits. And between this and like Mario plus Rabbids, like Mario's got a real problem with rabbits this year.
Apparently.
Like, I don't know what that is.
What's going on? All right.
It almost makes me wonder if originally the Rabbids were supposed to be involved in this and somehow, and they just kind of stuck with the rabbit.
I doubt that. I don't think Nintendo will ever bring an outside property into one of its
You would
first-party
think not,
games.
but this game does have some references to things that have never been referred to in a mainline Mario game before.
Really?
Waluigi is mentioned. Like
But that's still in the Nintendo universe.
Yeah, but he's
Mushroom
only been in the
Kingdom-ish.
sports games until now.
Right. But I'm saying,
This game canonizes Waluigi.
I'm fine with that. I like Waluigi. He's like the goofiest character ever.
Well, that's a great thing about him is like he is the dumbest idea because it's like, well, we need a Luigi version of Wario, and we just bleh. And it's like, and I love that has somehow caught on to the point that now it's in this.
Because he just has that goofy voice or whatever, and he's all tall and lanky and weird. I like him. All right, it's time for our trailer of the week, folks. I'll give you one guess. Actually, which of the 3 game, Matt, you're cheating. You're looking at the rundown.
Huh?
I thought you were trying to guess what the trailer of the week was.
I'm looking at the chat, and B, Sam asked about the trailer of the week, so I know what it is.
That's right. He already ruined the surprise. Well, we had 3 big games to choose from.
You paste it on the camera tripod every week.
Good point. So actually, a lot of times the trailer of the week is omitted from that rundown.
Oh, yeah?
But not this week. We need everything lined up for the new take on GameFace. I didn't want anything left to chance. So we had 3 big games to choose from. Oddly enough, I ended up choosing Assassin's Creed Origins launch trailer. Get your questions in. Make sure you post them at SIFTD Games so we can pluck them out of the chat easily. Let's watch it.
Your legend, Assassin, is spreading. The corners of this world speak of a man who fights without being seen, who goes where the gods forbid. Who kills the wicked and the corrupt. What you have started in Egypt will change the course of history.
We must continue the fight and defend the free will of the people. And no matter how small, our brotherhood is the only hope.
That certainly makes the game look pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I have yet to really feel that excitement actually playing the game.
It is a slow burn. Once you start finding some of the areas that have more enemies and more like stuff going on, I think it picks up substantially. And there's more tension because staying quiet and stealthy is more of an imperative in this Assassin's Creed because if the whole base wakes up, you can't fight them all off.
Right. That's a good point. Sometimes I would just wake them up on purpose.
Yeah,
just to,
absolutely.
like, clear them
because it's
out.
faster.
It would. Instead of like hunting them down or whatever and finding them.
Unless that's why I think one of the problems Assassin's Creed had was they kept having those missions where it had insta fail if you blew your cover.
Yeah.
And the reason they had that is because it was too easy to just fight your way through everything.
Yeah.
And they've kind of removed that in this new one, and as a result, you have a lot more freedom to do things how you want because they don't put those restrictions on you, at least not so far.
There's the crutch isn't there. So
Right.
I would always try to do the right thing and play it right. But when the chips were down and I got to a hard part of the game, I just counter-killed everybody.
Right. And also one of the other things I like about it is that so far there are no optional objectives where they like want you to like, you know, kill 3 guards with a flying poison dart upside down while you hang from a ledge kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was always just like, don't make me do tricks to get 100% completion. Don't do that.
Well, I think it was Black Flag where they had like the kernels that would stop the counter kills, But then you just had to do like this push move.
Right.
And you push them, then you could counter kill them.
Yeah.
And like they tried to stop it, but they really didn't. All right, let's get to some questions here. With our new setup, we can actually bring the chat up on the screen for you guys. Let's see. We got one from J Reed Vic 7. He always asks great questions. With the recent addition of original Xbox backwards compatibility, any chance games can evolve the way they handle licenses or for car manufacturers, music, etc., so they can always be forward compatible going forward? Or will games preservation continue to be left to pirates? Is permanent forward compatibility on consoles? I don't think I've ever heard that phrase before. Forward compatibility on consoles realistic, since it's mostly the norm on PC?
I mean, part of the reason things like that have happened is because at the time of the licensing of those things, no one ever imagined that A, anyone would care that much about backwards compatibility, and B, that things would be popular enough to warrant bringing them back later in that regard. Yeah. Licensing deals tend to be much cheaper if they're for a limited amount of time. And often you're more interested in spending the least amount of money to get what you want licensed than you are in trying to preserve what you're doing for future generations or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that remasters and remakes have become such lucrative business this generation is going to positively impact that going forward, because people are going to know that you might be able to release this in 5 or 10 more years again, remastered, and make money all over again. So you're going to want something in place that gives you the option to bring those songs, that licensed music back, or those licensed characters back. So I think it will get better because of how successful those have been this gen.
What I would say is that generally, if things are worth bringing back, they'll find a way to make it happen.
Right.
So even if there are tricky licenses or whatever, if there's enough financial incentive there, they will do it. They'll find a way.
And you've seen that happen with The Simpsons,
Yep.
and with even Quantum Leap did that.
Yeah. Or if you just look like at the SNES or the NES Classic.
Right.
It's like there are licensing problems there. Some of them are probably pretty hard to solve because some of those games are old and the licenses have been sloughed off from one company to another. If it's worth it and the game is good enough, which will make it ultimately worth it, then they'll find a way to do it and they'll do it. So, good question though, J. Reed. Good stuff. Justin Horman, do you have any thoughts on GameStop's reported Power Pass program, where you can rent, trade pre-owned games out for free as a member? Do you think it will last? Do you think it will be more or less popular than Xbox's Game Pass /PSN Now? So did you hear this story? So,
No.
So GameStop essentially is trying to monetize its catalog of retro games. So you can pay $60 and you get 6 months of service. So basically $10 a month for you to rent games from GameStop. Yeah.
Well, they got to do something to counteract that Best Buy Gamers Club thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess it's probably also kind of direct competition with Redbox to some degree.
I mean, it's going backwards. It's like, didn't Blockbuster learn that lesson for you?
Well, Blockbuster never let you pay all the money up front.
It didn't do that. It also had a terrible selection. Stuff was always rented out. The stuff that you really wanted, you could never get.
Yeah, well, also, like in context of GameStop, it would seem to reason that the really good stuff won't really be readily available because people don't want to trade in the good stuff.
Right. But people do.
Yeah, but after a while. But it's like, I mean, maybe it's useful if you want to play like 6-month-old games for free.
Or you just want to play a lot of the single-player only games. Because those are the ones that tend to get traded in.
Yeah.
So that maybe opens up a new market for those games, although the publishers won't make any money off of that. I would be all for it if somehow GameStop was kicking some money back to the publishers or the developers.
I just feel like the selection thing is going to become an issue, like especially because you're paying that much money up front, and like so you basically have 6 months to get what you feel is $60 worth out of what you're renting for free, essentially. And will that happen? It's a little bit of a crapshoot. There's a reason that rentals back in the day tended to charge you money for what you were renting at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not like PlayStation Plus.
It's a subscription service, basically.
But it's also not like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, where Xbox Gold, where you've got other benefits as well as some free games every once in a while. Also, those are, as long as you keep subscribing, you get those games forever.
Right.
Whereas you have to bring your game back to GameStop.
But conceivably, you could keep it as long as you want to. You finish it or whatever.
But
I mean,
you don't get another one.
I think where this is really effective is for people in rural areas that don't have Redbox, but they probably have a GameStop within 10, 15 miles of them at some mall or some strip mall. Or
the other thing about this is if you're really trying to cash in on retro stuff, it's too bad that they've cleared out all their retro stuff.
They've been trying to,
Yeah, because they don't really have anything going back past the 360 and the PS3
if they had held all that stuff.
If you held on the PS2 stuff, yeah.
The problem is people wouldn't return like the really good retro stuff. It'd just be dust in the wind. It'd be like $60. Whatever, this game's worth $50 or I don't know. It's funny to see a brick and mortar store going back to that model though. But if you look at it from GameStop's perspective, it has all this inventory just sitting there doing nothing. So it might as well monetize it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure their store clerks are like, oh God, this job was already crappy, now it's really crappy.
Yeah, the question again, I think, is does anybody want that?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because I think partly to me, and this may be just my bias against GameStop, to me this looks like floundering. It looks like desperately trying to find a new revenue source for a model that's failing.
It's possible. I mean, it's making more money off of its like tchotchkes and stuff in the stores than it's making off games.
And that's going.
It's got bigger profit margins.
That's universal. So if you go to a Best Buy right now, they have a giant toy section now.
Yeah.
It wasn't there 6 months ago.
It's the pivot.
Yeah.
It's the total pivot.
They want to sell you the collectibles after you've already bought the game.
Sorry for your loss, Shane, from the Legacy. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts on the Activision microtransaction patent, and what would happen if Kirby swallowed Cappy? What would happen if Kirby swallowed Cappy? He'd turn into a Cap.
I think he would turn into Mario's Cap inside out.
That's freaking great. That is a great question. My brain just went right.
I feel like that's a question the next Smash Brothers are going to have to answer.
Yeah. That's a great question. The first part of his question, I'm not even sure I know what he's talking about. Thoughts on Activision's microtransaction patent? I didn't hear about that.
I don't know about. No.
How do you patent a microtransaction?
If you can patent it, Activision will figure it out.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that
story. I haven't seen
that story. Killzone 310. Why does everybody hate me? Because your name's Killzone.
Yeah, change your name to Horizon Zero Dawn.
Cheater hater. How are you going to feel when Mario gets a season pass? What would they give a season pass? I mean, they can't do story DLC for Mario.
You could do more worlds.
Or maybe just create like challenge stages or something with time trial stuff.
I mean, more kingdoms would be a good option.
Yeah.
I think everybody could always use more Mario worlds, right?
Yeah. I can't wait until I get this game dialed in, by the way. Once I get into the zone with this game.
How about this? Fraternally.
I realize I keep pointing over here, and people are like, what is Shane pointing at? Our TV to play games is over here.
Fratterly asks, why is everyone always clowning on Matt Casamassina?
I wasn't clowning on him. I love Matt.
People do make fun of him.
Really?
I don't really know why, though.
I've never seen someone make fun of Matt. Matt's like one of my heroes, man. I would never make fun of Matt. He's one of the people that got me into this. Like, I started reading...
the only thing I've seen... I don't know him. I've maybe met him once or something, I think. There are some people I know that feel he's sold out by going to Apple.
Oh.
Which is stupid, because if you get a job at Apple, you take the job at Apple.
No, you got to understand, Matt didn't have to work at IGN anymore. He was one of the OGs there. He's one of the founders. He got paid. Him and like 4 or 5 other guys from IGN got paid. And he had done it for a long time. It's like, basically at that point, Pear had already become like the de facto like content executive, and I don't think Matt had anywhere up to go, and he'd been doing it for a long time.
And also, what
Matt
he does
is the original game journalist. He was the first guy to like break exclusives and get like had like a scoop, a beat, and he worked it. He was the best Nintendo journalist in the world for years and years.
I remember him doing that, where like on the IGN side of the Nintendo side of IGN and stuff. And I remember there was a point at which I just couldn't take anymore, because it was my first real encounter with like the hardline Nintendo fanboyism, because he is a hardline Nintendo fan.
Oh yeah, he's a big time Nintendo fan.
But he did get the story. I mean, that segment of the site was completely different from all the others.
Yeah, it was the only real piece of journalism on the site at the time.
And look, what he does at Apple is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he basically curates the whole store.
I don't know why anyone would hate on Matt Casamassina. If they do, they're fools.
Because they want to be him.
If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Let's see. A couple more. What's the game that will keep you guys busy till Christmas? I just played it. I just played it live.
Assassin's Creed. A mix of probably Assassin's Creed and Mario.
Truth be told, you're probably right, because I'll finish this first, and then I'll probably go back and finish off Assassin's Creed afterwards.
Yeah.
So it technically will be the game that will keep me busy till Christmas.
Then also, I mean, do not discount the possibility that Xenoblade will just suck me in and not
there's
let me
just
go,
there's still tons of games. This is only October.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting ready to go to November, and November is the busiest month of them all. So we're just getting warmed up. This is a really good October, but we're just getting started. There's a lot more to come. All right, one more question, and we got to go. Super Cordon Blue. Do you think Nintendo could be the company to really bring VR AR to the masses like they did with Wii? Could VR AR be Nintendo's third pillar or second once 3DS runs its course? No.
No, I don't think Nintendo's into that.
I don't think Nintendo cares about it.
No.
At all.
Also because VR, I think, is going to require a much bigger collaboration effort than Nintendo's interested in doing.
Yeah.
Nintendo wants to do their own thing and kind of kick it Nintendo style. And
Well, they did do it first. I mean, with the Virtual Boy, they tried. It
Right.
failed. But Nintendo, in this case, is sitting back and watching everybody else blow their money.
Yeah. Also, I mean, by Reggie's own admission, what they wanted to do with the Virtual Boy basically became the 3DS.
Yeah.
Like, the point of Virtual Boy wasn't virtual reality so much as 3D.
Yeah.
So I think they've done that. And I don't see them really caring too much about... If virtual reality gets brought to the masses, I think it's going to be something like that Oculus standalone unit once it drops in price. It's going to be something like that.
I think it's going to have to be way cheaper. I don't think
Yeah.
Nintendo will jump on it until you can buy like a headset for like $100 and a good one.
Yeah.
It's actually effective. So that's probably another 3-4 years away.
If not more.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly mobile is going to be the big stepping stone for VR. I mean, it seems to be its cheapest. It's what people keep adopting.
And look for that to be where Nintendo steps into it first, I think.
That could be.
Because they're already doing pretty well in mobile as it is.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see Nintendo release a game for VR first, and on Gear VR, whatever, for mobile, and then before they ever jump in with their own hardware. I'm getting killed here. Well, Mario's getting killed. So that's it. It's time for a word from our sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, extraturns.com. Your games deserve more. There's so many stores and sites that will charge you 10, maybe 15% or more for the privilege of selling a used game. They charge $0. Extraturns.com is a brand new marketplace being built from the ground up so you can sell your games, collectibles, electronics, and memorabilia. Not only will they beat their competitors' commission in every category, but they will also make exchanging your used games commission-free. You get 100% of the value of your collection. Sign up for the pre-launch and share the site on social media to be entered to win an SNES Classic this holiday season. And this holiday season is almost here.
Yep.
Once Mario is here, I feel like it is holiday season.
Okay.
I've been waiting all year for this game, and it's here, so I'm pretty freaking excited. This is Christmas for me.
I got my Nintendo Christmas when Zelda came out, basically.
Yeah.
Although I really like Metroid Samus Returns.
Yeah. So
not so much because of how great the game is specifically, because it has a lot of problems, but just it's Metroid again. They made another Metroid game.
yeah.
And it wasn't Federation Force. Yay.
Even though it was just a remake of an old game.
Yeah, pretty good damn remake.
It is pretty good. Yeah, I've been pretty hooked on it. So that's it for GameFace 107. Hope you guys like the rework of the show. Be sure to leave the feedback about the changes to the show, what you think. We're more than willing to take constructive criticism. So any feedback
raise
you
my
have.
chair up.
Yeah. Aren't our heads the same? No, you do need to raise it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little. We're pretty close, though, actually. Yeah, if you sit up straight, we're the same, see?
I'm going to sit like that all day. 3 hours.
Anyway, I hope you guys like the changes to the show and everything. How'd you like that little crawl with all our patrons there at the end? Better than just some scrolly thing, like a lot of...
I'm trying to get the TriCaster to do that for years.
Yeah, we finally figured it out. So leave your feedback. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, any changes you'd like to make, and we'll take them all to heart. We really appreciate it.
A bunch of people want the table back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or a centerpiece. Interesting.
Well, they want us to... we should put a fern right here.
Yeah. Between two men, the Fern
The
Show.
fern between two men. That's funny. So that's it. I think I may actually do like a little Patreon drive stream tomorrow of Mario. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you'll get an alert if I decide to do it. We do have a couple more things to satisfy for our Patreon over the next few days before October is over. Beat Shane is still coming up, and Ask Shane is still coming up. I actually already shot Ask Shane, and the audio is garbage. Oh, it's the worst. Dude, I got so many questions for Ask Shane, like 50. So it's going to be something we're going to do probably more than once a month. We're going to do it more regularly. But I recorded the first one right before I had to leave for the funeral, and the audio was just garbage. I opened it up yesterday, and it was like terrible. So anyway, both of those are coming before November 1st, so look out for those. Everyone have a great, safe, and fun weekend.
One more thing. If you are at LA Comic-Con, I am on a bunch of panels this weekend there with Film Threat and Dysfunctional Skywalker Family and Problem Solving for Collectors and Fans to Professionals, which is a panel about people who are fans of something and made it into a job. So if you happen to be at LA Comic-Con this weekend, I will be there if you want to come see any of those panels.
There you go. Come and see Matt. GameFace is up and out.